saying, I think there's a lot more nuance to this discussion than we, like to admit. Because when I do the research, that's why I don't really talk about this that often. You got a lot of people speaking on both sides of the aisle about where these people come from. Like the biggest thing that I never hear you talk about, Gito, and even you, Kasha, is the whole Tuareg point. I'll talk about that a lot because the Tuaregs are Black North Africans. They've been there.
Peace, fam. Peace, fam. It's Afri-Culture Concepts. I know it's nobody here. I tried to tag a couple of the guys that was on there. One of them I can't locate them on YouTube. The other guys, hopefully they just pass by and check it out. You know what I mean? But I just wanted to make a couple points, and this is basically a preview for the conversation we'll be having. Uh, Probably on his channel. I'm not sure. Maybe this channel. I don't know. We haven't discussed it yet behind the scenes. But I just wanted to make a point on how I know, it's really a lack of information flowing through this conversation. It's a very big lack of conversation. I mean, lack of understanding. Because first there was a claim that Tuaregs are indigenous Black North Africans, which yes, they are indigenous because Tuareg culture emerged in the Sahara. Okay, Tuareg culture emerged in the Sahara. To my understanding, they are basically a divergence from coastal North Africans into the Sahara that's further south. But a point that I want to make is, okay, first off, he said Tuaregs are Black. And he shut me down when I tried to tell them that they have homogenous, or I'm not sure if that's the right word, but basically they have a very variable appearance. Okay, and we can look at this. They have a very variable appearance. We can view this. Okay, let's go here. Let's view let's view a couple images of some Tuaregs that we can at least find on Google. Okay. I'm not saying, we actually in the Sahara Desert, but we working with what we can work with for right now. Okay. We dealing with people that's only been in America, and people that have been to Africa, they haven't been to the Sahara. They've only been to sub-Saharan Africa, south of the Sahara in the Savannah regions. Okay. Not even West Africa. So let's talk about this between somebody that's been studying this stuff for years and somebody that's only been in sub-Saharan Africa, and other people that's only been in America, and another diaspora African that's probably native to Europe. Okay, as you can see, Tuaregs are not what you want to call Black. Okay, now some of them do have Blackish features, and it's a reason for that. It's a reason for that. It's a reason why they diverge from basically Berbers in general. Now they are considered Berbers because they speak Tamashek, which is a Berber language. Okay, it falls under Tamashek. I believe they write in Tiffany, uh, you know, and they have various connections with Berbers. Now, one thing is we dealing with a lack of knowledge. You don't really know the history. You don't really know the culture of these people. Berbers, they tend to. Now, I'm not saying all people that appear Black that are Sanhajas or Tuaregs. I'm not saying that they are. I'm not saying that all people that appear Black were slaves, but some people that were slaves had offspring with these people. Okay, they also descend from earlier cultures or what some would consider pre or proto Tuareg cultures. Okay, like what is that? What is that culture called? It was in the Sahara, and it was a culture with basically Mediterranean people and sub-Saharan people where they basically merged together. Okay, and it happened in the Sahara Desert, and these people they supplied their because we know during that time the Sahara was already aridified, it was dry, and they supplied their crops, and they had supplied themselves with water through some type of pumping technology. They developed some type of technology where they would collect water from underground aquifers. You know what I mean? I think it was called the Fazan culture or the Garamint. The Garamint, that's what it was. It was the Garamintes. Okay, and these are what some of these people descend from. Okay, now we can see here clearly that all Tuaregs are not black and all Tuaregs are not white or non-black. But even the ones that do appear black, they have a very distinctive appearance. They don't look like typical. They don't look like somebody that could basically blend in with African Americans. Okay, let's look at one of these people that appear to be black. These are the type of details that Brandon tends to leave out. He thinks I don't know about these people, which is fine. But I want you to know that I do know about these people, bro, and they're not as black as you think. Okay, now look at this guy. He probably could. Some people would think he looked like a typical African American, but to me he really don't. He really don't. He looks like a sub-Saharan that's admixed with a North African. Look at this guy. Well, let's go back because that's not a good picture. Look at this guy right here. He may have darker skin or light brown skin or whatever, but he is not. He couldn't blend in with typical African Americans or West African stock. Mostly purely sub-Saharan West African stock. Okay. Now look at this Tuareg. This Tuareg this Tuareg probably was assimilated into their culture because obviously, I mean, if they do have Tuareg lineage, it's probably far off, or they have just been assimilated recently, or maybe they descend from somebody that was assimilated. So they were born ethnically or culturally Tuareg. Maybe not genetically, but culturally they were Tuareg. Okay, even though this person has more sub-Saharan features, you know, darker skin, sub-Saharan nose, not because of their, not because, oh, because I'm adopting racist whatever, but people in wetter climates, more moist climates, they tend to have wider noses. Not all the time, but most of the time. In hotter, wetter climates, they have wider noses so that their body can adapt to the climate so that they can still intake the same amount of oxygen. They won't have any problems. If they live in a wet, dry climate, I said a wet, dry climate, but a wet, hot climate, that has thick humidity. It has high humidity and it's very hot. Somebody with a narrow nose, they're probably gonna survive, but they're not gonna have the ease of breathing like somebody with a nose like this. As the same way with somebody like this in the desert, somebody in the desert, they're not gonna that has a nose like this, they're not gonna die, but they are going to have problems, too much dust, they nose going they going to have nose pains, they might even have nosebleeds. Give me a sec, give me a sec. Yeah, sorry, I had to take a call, but anyway, yes, you can see the variability of these people. Okay, it's a very big lack of information going on, and the problem is, you know, which I believe is going to give me the advantage in this conversation that we have, is that people tend to Google something real quick and just go with, what's on the surface, the first thing that they find. You know what I'm saying? The first thing that they find, and then they run with it. And that doesn't always help. Now, one thing I can say is, I was wrong about what you call it, Muammar Gaddafi. He's Arab. I'm not sure if he's full Arab, but he is definitely Arab. I thought he was Berber stock, but if you make a Google search on him, you'll see easily that he's Arab. He was born to an Arab family. Now, the thing about people in Libya in the Central Sahara is these people were Arabized. So it's hard to distinguish who's Arab and who's not, because a lot of these Berbers that were born, they might be part Arab. They may be part Arab and they speak Arabic languages and they believe that they're full Arab and they completely ignore their indigenous North African culture. Okay. So I'm not sure. I have to do more research on Muammar Gaddafi because I'm definitely going to bring that up. I'm definitely going to bring that up in our conversation because I think I've seen some information that led me to believe that he's part Arab and not pure Arab. Okay. I mean, if he was born in Africa, more than likely he does have Berber ancestry. Now, it is a good chance he could be full Arab because Arabs have been in North Africa for a minute. They are not the majority, but they are there. Now, I believe in some countries it varies. Now, I'm not sure, but I do know indigenous North Africans, they identify as Arab sometimes. It just depends on who it is. It varies from person to person. But we can see that Tuaregs are not black. They are not purely black. There are black Tuaregs and there are Tuaregs that appear to be black, but they are not black. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Because if they were black, another way I can kill your conversation is because the Tuaregs are the initiators or the establishers of the Almoravidun or the Almoravid movement. That's how I know you don't know the history, because you assume that I don't talk about Tuaregs. But if you knew about Tuaregs, then you would know when I'm talking about Moors that I'm talking about Tuaregs, because Tuaregs are the ones that started the Moors in North Africa, in the Sahara, okay, in the mountains, in the Atlas Mountains. The Moors are a confederation of Tuaregs. They are a confederation of Tuaregs. And that's why I say some people that be on these conversations, they don't really have the range to even have these conversations, because the information that's available is not really being utilized on both parties. It's not really being utilized. A lot of these guys, they just cover something They find something that agrees with them, and they just run with it. Give me a second. Somebody texting me. Okay, so we see Tuaregs are not black. They are not wholly black. They do have blackness. They do have some that have sub-Saharan ancestry. They do have sub-Saharan admixture, and they have Mediterranean North African admixture. That's what Tuaregs are made of. They are a product of both populations. Okay, that's why they vary. So what we're gonna do next, we're gonna go to a paper about the Tuaregs. I just think it's funny all the information that I drop. You know, and nobody really looks at it. But anyway, the Tuareg are presently no, the Tuareg presently live in the Sahara and the Sahel. Their ancestors are commonly believed to be the Garamantes of the Libyan Fazan. Ever since it was suggested by authors of antiquity, biological evidence based on classical genetic markers, however, indicate kinship with the Beja of Eastern Sudan. Our study of the mitochondrial DNA sequences and Y chromosome SNPs of three different southern Tuareg groups from Mali, Burkina Faso, and the Republic of Niger reveals a West Eurasian North African component of their gene pool. Let's read this one more time. Our study of mitochondrial mtDNA sequences and Y chromosome SNPs of three different southern Tuareg groups of Mali, Burkina Faso, and the Republic of Niger reveals a West Eurasian North African composition of their gene pool. The data show the data show that certain genetic lineages could not have been introduced into this population earlier than 9,000 years ago, whereas local expansions established a minimal date at around 3,000 years ago. Some of the mtDNA haplogroups observed in the Tuareg population were involved in the post last glacial maximum human expansion from the Iberian refugia towards both Europe and North Africa. Interestingly, no Near Eastern mtDNA lineages connected with the Neolithic expansion have been observed in our population sample. On the other hand, the Y chromosome SNP's data showed that the paternal lineages can very probably be traced to the Near Eastern Neolithic demic expansion towards North Africa in a period that is otherwise concordant with the above mentioned mtDNA expansion. The time frame for the migration of the Tuareg towards the African Sahel belt overlaps that of early Holocene climatic changes across the Sahara. From the optimal greening of 10,000 years before present to the extent aridity beginning at 6,000 years before the present, and the migrations of other African nomadic peoples in the area. The Tuareg call themselves Kel Tamashek, people of Tamashek language, or the Amashahin. The Tamashek tongue is a Berber language belonging to the Afro-Asiatic phylum. The Tuareg maintain a nomadic and or a semi-nomadic lifestyle in the Central Sahara and adjacent regions of the African Sahel, where they number around 1,262,000 in total. Their contemporary geographic distribution is shown in the upper map. This is where they are indigenous to. They are indigenous to the Central Sahara, like I said. Okay. The fifth century Greek historian Herodotus suggested that the ancestral homeland of the ancient Tuareg, aka the Garamantes, was the Libyan Fezzan. It has been suggested that subsequent to the camel being adopted for Saharan trade in the first or second century, the area of Tuareg influence expanded further to the south. Oral accounts and sparse written records in Tifinagh, the script of the Tamashiq language, date back to the 14th century, where the first caravan traders were documented in the Ayr Mountains. Hereafter, it seems that from the 17th century onward, the increasingly frequent invasions of North Africa by various Arabic tribes drove the Tuareg yet further southward to the African Sahel. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to draw a conclusion, but I want to be optimistic here. And this is what we lack in this conversation, because we're dealing with people that's not really versed in this stuff. They're not really well versed in this stuff, which is fine. But my job is to help people understand African diversity. Okay. Now it shows you here earlier, if you follow the context, it says the first time frame for the migration of Tuaregs towards the African Sahel belt overlaps that of early Holocene climatic changes across the Sahara. From the optimal greening, which was 10,000 years before the present, to the extent aridity beginning at 6,000 years before the present, and the migrations of other African nomadic peoples in the area. So, what can that lead one to believe by comparing that to this? It has been suggested that subsequent to the camel being adopted for Saharan trade in the first to second century, the area of influence of Tuareg influence expanded further south. Oral accounts and sparse written records in Tifinagh script of the Tamashiq language date back to the 14th century, when the first caravan traders were documented in the Ayr Mountains. Hereafter, it seems that from the 17th century onward, the increasingly frequent invasions of North Africa by various Arabic tribes drove the Tuareg yet further southward to the African Sahel. What does that lead one to believe? It shows you that they were already in the Sahara. They were in the Green Sahara. You know, they not only were they already migrating, which it debunks what Brandon and Kashta Zulu was saying, that Arab tribes caused them to migrate further south. It debunks that, but it also does kind of agree with them, and it shows you that not only did they migrate further south because of their own choice, but they also migrated south because of Arabs. It says by various Arabic tribes drove the Tuareg yet further south, and this happened in later times. So this is one of my main arguments. Like, when you blame everything on Arabs and all this, you make it seem like all Africans are victims, and all you trying to do is, you got this underlying religious belief that all Africans are black. Salam alaikum, jarama, my brother, and you definitely can get on. I'm gonna let you get on in a couple seconds. I just want to cover these things because I don't believe in nothing. This is the stuff I've been dealing with. I've been dealing with this stuff for years. I've been reading these papers. I'm not an expert, but I am definitely an anthropologist. I'm an anthropology enthusiast when it comes to African diversity and African anthropology. Okay. Now we already debunked that Tuaregs are black. And Al, you should know this. You should know that Tuaregs ain't all black. You should know this. But in a with the motivation of trying to say that blacks, are the whole continent of Africa, I can understand why you sided with Brandon. You know, I can understand that. Now I'm gonna make an even deeper point to what I was talking about with Fulani people, because we all know, Al, if you mess with Fulani culture, yes, they are a mixture. But what were they before? Where did they emerge from? Brandon doesn't know that. And he said I don't talk about the Tuaregs, but Al, you should know of all people, somebody that studied the African Islamic history, the who started the Moors, who started the Almoravids. Was it Arabs or was it Tuaregs? The Almoravids is a the Almoravids is a confederation of Tuaregs. So to say that I never talk about Tuaregs, that's very disingenuous, and it was just a reach, because I do talk. I got a whole short talking about the Tuaregs. I gave Tuaregs their respect, and I took that shit from African Americans that claim that they started the Moors. No, the San Haja Berbers started the Moors. They started the Moors. They started their own version of radical Islam in the Sahara. So to say I don't never talk about Tuaregs, I mean, let's be real. You know, Fulani people are another version of Tuaregs. They a later version of Tuaregs. You know what I'm saying? Tuaregs, and then let's talk about the Almoravids. Okay, if Tuaregs was black and they started the Moors, then how come when they conscripted black Muslims from further south, how come they called them black Moors? How come they called them black Moors? Because Tuaregs, most Tuaregs are Mediterranean looking people. They are not black. They are not black. And that's why I said, you know, I might be having this conversation with the wrong people, because, you know, they not they don't really have the range that I have in this conversation. Brandon, he expertise at at political discussions. I'm not an expert at that. But when it comes to African diversity and African history, I think I know a little more. I think I have a better, firmer grasp on African history than Brandon and Kashta Zulu. Fula Fula came from the Tukulura tribe in Senegal, in Futaturo. I don't know. I don't know. That's just a guess, because when you observe Fulani genetics, they have most of they. I'm not saying all of them, but the older Fube people, you know, they have paternal haplogroups that they got from Berbers. They have E1B1B, which is the majority haplogroup, or paternal haplogroup in North Africa. You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of scholars and anthropologists and geneticists, they tend to say that Fulani people came from North Africa. Yeah, the earlier Fulanis, though, it's a very good chance that they emerged from an admixture, or they emerged from two different groups of people that merged together. Okay, that's probably what happened, bro. More than likely, that's what happened, because it's a very it's a very it's a very obvious North African element in Fulani genetics. Now, the ones that have less North African genetics, that's later. That's because they have been absorbed into Niger Congo populations. You know, they have been. I even got a paper because I was speaking to a Fulani woman about 2 years ago, and she sent me a paper. Now I don't take it as expertise, but it's a good breakdown because we all know Fulani people have haplogroup E1B1B, and they descend from L3. Not all of them, but a lot of them got L3 mtDNA. Okay, but the theory was that the theory was that on the live, man, busy right now, so I got you in the background for sure, fam, for sure. Much love to Low Value, man. He always chunking me food stamps, man. We be slanging food stamps in the trap house. Know what I'm saying? That boy always got your boy back, man. He be supporting the videos too. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you because I know this is a new understanding, and a lot of people think Africa means black, but at least I don't want you to agree. I want you to do the homework. I want you to do the studying. I want you to read the actual scholarly articles that we have, you know, and come to your own conclusion. It still may not be right, but at least you taking the time out to learn and you not just doing reactionary Google searches. You know, that's not how you come to an understanding and develop a full grasp. But anyway, you know, the chick sent me a paper, and she had her own theory based off of maybe some different research and different observations, with her from her vicinity to Fubei people, and she came to the belief or the understanding that, you know, the Berbers that came into contact with probably Sarir people, and you know what? We can actually develop this linguistically too, because they have several lexicons. They have lexicons that basically show that Fulbe shares its primitive, its original, the primitive roots are the oldest version of the language. It has a lot of cognation with Sarir, with the Sarir language, and also Wolof does too. So I'm thinking it's looking like Sarir people, they are the parent population of two different ethnic groups, and that's what I want people to understand. Like, just because North Africans don't appear to be the same race as you, don't mean that they not connected to you, and it don't mean that they not Berbers. I mean that they not Africans, bro. African, and that's what we need to talk about on Brandon channel or whoever channel when we have this discussion. How do you establish what's African and what's not? Because it can't be just your skin color. That is not scientific at all. It's not scientific. But anyway, let's go back to this little paper real quick and show you. Since the beginning of European explorations of the Sahara and the Sahel, the Tuareg have been known mainly as caravan traders linking the sub-Saharan and Mediterranean cultures. Let's read this again. Since the beginning of European explorations of the Sahara and the Sahel, the Tuaregs have been known mainly as caravan traders linking the sub-Saharan and Mediterranean cultures. Their contact with the various sub-Saharan peoples was not always peaceful, and they were known to take war captives. Centuries of mutual contact led to substantial assimilation of others into the Tuareg population. Now let's go back. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to this. See, people be talking about stuff that they have limited understanding on. I've been dealing with this stuff for years, bro. I've been discussing this stuff, with other people that's well versed on this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just just Googling stuff and making videos. Nah, I'm not doing that. This stuff I've been dealing with for years, bro, for at least 3 years. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I definitely have a little more understanding than some of these cats than what they talking about. And it's very clear. Now let's go back. Remember what we just read. Look at these Berbers. And Brandon even said it. He said, we know, people become different shades because of admixture with distant populations. Well, look at the Berbers. Look at the not the Berbers, but the Tuaregs. The Tuaregs are yellow, light brown, and some of them black. Why is that? We can assume that the ones that look pure sub-Saharan, they probably were assimilated. They probably were assimilated into Tuareg culture. Because look at most of the Tuaregs. Most of the Tuaregs look like North Africans. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. I know this just looker shit, but you gotta deal with the facts, dog. Yeah, here you go. Now, somebody of a full bay stock, they should know that, because full bay have people assimilated into their culture that might not be all the way genetically Fulani. I see it all the time because I'm friends with people in Nigeria. You got people that straight Yoruba stock, but they speak Fulani. They believe they are Fulani because they live in the Fulani confines. They grew up as Fulani. So we got brother Al coming up. What's good with it, bro?
Yes, brother. Jana Makoto Tanala. Can you hear me?
Jadama, Jadama. Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, we can. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you're very connected, to your people, and you're very interested in finding the origins, of our cultures and our people and stuff like that. For me, that's a win-win situation anyway. But moving forward, obviously at the end of the day, sometimes to find the truth, you got to dig in, right? And also you're gonna have agreements and disagreements. That's how you get to find the truth. Sometimes it's not as simple because the coming from the tribe that we come from, we're very complicated groups, and we're very dispersed. So I can see why you will struggle sometimes, or anyone, even some of the pullers, they tend to struggle in terms of finding different thing. You're not the first person, you will not be the last kid. So keep the courage going and keep the hard work going, to begin with, brother. Thank you.
No problem, no problem. I don't have a problem with being wrong. Like earlier, I just admitted. I don't know if you heard me, but you know,
Yeah,
according to what you can immediately find,
yeah,
Muammar Gaddafi, he may have been full-blooded Arab. Now, I'm still not sure of that because we know Libya has always been inhabited by Berbers and Tubus. Okay,
two babs,
which
yeah,
yeah, which are Nilotic people, and or maybe they might be admixed with Berber, but they
mm,
are basically Nilotic speakers and Berber speakers. We know this. You know what I'm
yes,
saying? Now, with that being said, they are the majority in the north. The Berbers are the majority in the south. The Nilotics, the Tubus, are the Tubabs, which I wouldn't say Tubab because in Senegal, Tubab mean European. So I
yeah,
just say Tubu. You
yeah,
know, uh, we know in the south they are the majority. Okay, and I just find
yeah.
that hard to believe that you know, Gaddafi don't have no Berber ancestry. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna just say Brandon,
He
right?
does,
I'm gonna just
Gaddafi
go
was
ahead.
a barber. He was a barber. He was
Well,
a barber.
it's easy to say he was Arab because when you pull up a wiki article about him, it doesn't say anything about his.
See, this
It
is
doesn't say
why
any,
this. Yes, this is why we've got to be careful of those papers that they throw at us on the internet, or some of these things that people are, some of the results or whatever they're trying to sell out there, because the reality is things changes over the years, and
Facts. And they
fact
don't
changes
have
as well.
no. It ain't
Yeah,
easy to find no genetic breakdown
yeah,
on Gaddafi right now. And another
no,
thing is Brandon
yes,
don't understand how much Arab influence that Berbers are under. Some Berbers that's full blooded Berber claim to be Arab. I seen I'm in Berber genetic groups, where I see Berbers make posts and they always grew up thinking they were Arab until they made a genetics test and they realized they were full African. I'm talking about Berbers that's white. It goes against what people want to believe, but Berbers that's white as snow with black and brown, black hair and brown eyes, they believe they was Arab, but they don't have no genetics that connects them to the Arabian Peninsula. None.
hmm
And does
yes.
Brandon know or the paternal markers that indicates Arab ancestry on the African continent?
You see, to be honest with you, I don't really know much about the Barbers or the Tuaregs or the Afro Arabs or because they got different branches. These Tuareg groups, they themselves, they're not one group. They got different branch of them. And the reality is, I only know a little bit about my the full men. The word itself, full men, means basically a group of people. And I don't believe the full men themselves from the beginning of the tribe.
Well,
I
Fulbe
believe,
people,
and
they
yes,
definitely
yes,
diverge from San Haja type people or some type of Berber group because you can see it. And you might not be able to see it in the language because
mhm.
their language is it can be cognate with old
I cannot,
Syrian
I
languages.
cannot guarantee, I
It
cannot
also has
guarantee.
similarities with Wolof languages as well. But their culture stands out because most sub-Saharan cultures now they practice agriculture. They don't practice nomadic pastoralism like they did back in the Green Sahara. They don't do that. The only
Yeah, I
people
mean,
that do that
yeah,
is Tuaregs and Fulani people in West Africa.
yeah, we got to be careful of that to be so definite about because okay, if you ask the average fuller, if you ask the historical fullers, they will tell you about the Tuklo Empire. I don't. Have you heard about the Tuklo Empire?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Tuklo Empire was at the same time as the Ghana Empire, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Can you find that out then?
We sure can.
Yeah,
But
it
but
should be
but
around.
while I'm
It
looking
should.
for that, let's go ahead and lay
Yeah,
it out there.
yeah.
The
Because
Ghana
what happened
the
is
Ghana
it begin.
Empire don't even
Yeah.
have like people don't even have a full consensus on the origins of the Ghana Empire. Some people throw out numbers that it might have started in the latest or the last century BC. Some people believe that it started around 1000 CE. And I give that credit because we have
It's the
West
oldest.
Africans.
I don't. I know for a fact it's been going on. It predated the time of the Barbers in West Africa during the Ghana Empire. Before during and before the Barber Empire, the Ghana Empire, Ouagadougou, they call it. There was no such thing as Barber in Africa. We did not have them. They came around that time. These are written fact because you need to go back to West Africa. These histories are written. You know, that's when they came as a trade route, right? So the Berbers came to West Africa, to trade with us because we was trading with these people for a long time, from the east to the west, from the west to the east. So that's when these light-skinned brothers present themselves around that region. So I think you looking at Ali, probably yeah, the Ghana Empire is the oldest empire we have in the region.
I don't even. I mean, yeah, that's what we can confirm, but I really think
Yeah,
we
but
had.
we need to go on what we got, right? We can't just disagree with
Well, I'm not
things
disagreeing with you. I was gonna say, that's what
yeah,
we can claim right now because
Yeah.
we can confirm that, with
Yes. Yes.
Islamic,
Okay.
we can confirm that with external writings,
Yes.
but from what I know is we already had urbanization prior to that. And this was around the time that people want to say we was in Egypt, but we was already in West Africa. Do you know about the Tichet Walata cliffs? Do you know about the Tichet Walata
So
cliff cultures?
so that's the okay. That's the reason why to say Fulani came from Tuaregs or Barbers.
I didn't say they just came from Tuaregs. I said they are a fusion of Tuaregs and sub-Saharans, probably Sarir people.
Yes, they mix. Yes, we mix with them. We mix with some Fulanis mix with Tuaregs. If you do the DNA of the Fulani, some of them are highly mixed with Tuaregs. Some of them don't at all. Some of them got light tiny bit of Tuaregs. And also, we are not the only tribe in West Africa.
Yeah,
Even the
that's
Mandinka,
because
even the Mandinka in Mali, they got one group of them. I forgot how they call them now. They mix with the Tuaregs and the Barbers, and because
I
these
don't
are the
put
things.
nothing
If you look
past
at the
that.
main, pardon,
I don't put nothing past that. But
yeah,
it's probably not
and the
big enough.
Bambara,
It's
not
probably
big enough.
not big
No,
enough to
not big
notice
enough.
them as or a distinct group. They probably speak
Yeah,
Mandinka.
yes, not big enough
And they
because
probably
they
practice
because of
Mandinka culture. They probably don't practice Tuareg culture.
no, and also what's the Fula? Not all Fula practice that culture. Most Fula practice the Fula culture, but the Fulas in the Sahel, because if you look compared it to the Fula in Senegal and the Fula in northern Mali, they're totally different culture. They practice differently. So if you
Yeah,
compare
but
the
we
Fula
know,
in northern Nigeria to the Fula in Guinea, they got a different
yeah,
culture also
but
slightly, right? So
that's cultural evolution because they were assimilated with agricultural populations, people that were
yes,
sedentary farmers. But
yes,
we
and
know
that's
we
yeah.
know at their origin, the oldest are the proto Fulanis. They were strictly pastoralists. They were nomadic pastoralists. We know that.
Some
We
of them,
even got
yes.
we
So
even got
some of them, well, according to the fuller history, it was later on they became that. It's not from the beginning of times who was pastoralized. We're not never always been like that.
we
It's
can't
because
verify that
basically,
because proto West Africans were pastoralists, period. And they when they started admixing with hunter gatherer women, they started to practice agro-pastoralism, which is a transition phase from pastoralism to agriculture. So that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like I've been dealing with this for a long time. And you said the Tukalur was around the same time, but the Tukalur didn't exist until 1861.
no, the two
That's the late common
the
era.
okay, the fuller in Senegambia, the father Adejola, because that's a known fact. The father Adejola. I don't know if you heard about the Jola people from Senegambia, the father Adejola. So Fula in general is not, I repeat, Fula in general is not the tribe of one group or one genetic. These are people of different mixture. There's a language that put them under one umbrella. Genetically,
Yeah, now
they're
they
different
different. They
people.
most
So whoever
population.
said it, whoever said it, the Tukul started around 18. This again, we need to be careful of this document that
That's
we're looking at because
that's
it's not
Wikipedia.
true.
But
It's not true
Tukalur,
because the
no,
Tukul,
you think about the
but
Tekrur Empire. You
you know,
think about
yeah,
the Tekrur Empire. You not
yeah,
think about the Tukalur. You talking about Tekrur. Tekrur is the first Fulani state. It happened in Futatoro.
yeah. But it's the
That was
people.
that was Tekrur.
It was the people. It's the same thing. They just pronounce it differently. Takrur, Tuklo.
Two
You
different
know,
words.
no. It's right. It's the same thing, but people pronounce these things differently, right? So
Okay,
the
well,
reality, yes, that's a fact. The reality is our oldest kingdom that we ever built in the world history is the one in Senegal in Futa Toro. Toro, the Torobe Fula are the original Fulas. Then you got the one in
you sure
Mali.
about that?
The- yes, 100%. Then you
You
got the one
sure?
in Mali. I am not telling you, these are written factor by the
That's the
Fulani
thing. Like
scholars.
I didn't been through all this before. I've been talking about Terube
Uh-huh.
for like 5 years,
Uh-huh.
bro.
Uh-huh.
You
See,
sure?
that's what I'm saying. We got to be careful.
You sure
We got to
Terube
be careful.
not an admixture of Arabs and Berbers too?
No,
And
the
Fulanis?
Torobe, okay. Futa Toro is the oldest Fula kingdom in the Fula history, in the history of the Fula. That's Toro. The Toro, we are the oldest Fulas group
I
of
get
Fula
that to you.
people. Yes. And then we have the Masina Fula. That's one in Mali. And then there's one argument between the scholars which one comes first, whether the one in Guinea or the one in Cameroon, where around northern Nigeria, which one came second or third. But they haven't really confirmed that. But the one in Toro is the first one. That's why everybody in every Fula will tell you the origin of Fula, the original native land of the Fulani is Toro. Senegal that you see is belongs to the Fulani, the Serere, and the Jola, and we call them Jola, yeah, the Jola and the Tuklo. The Tuklo and the Serere and the Jola, they're the oldest tribes that live in that region of Senegambia. All the other tribes that you see there today, they came there later on. So that's why we got to be careful. Like footage alone, we're not really native to that land. We went there, you know, Nasina, Mali, we went there to build the Mali Empire, with the Mandinka, the Bambara. Adamawa, we looking at down in near Cameroon area and over Nigeria. We went there later on as well. So these are known. These are not our. That's why if you look at these people, when you hear them talk, they're very hostile towards us because they're not really familiar to us. But the according to the also another factor that came out, which is a geogenetic and a geogenetic and I forget the name of it, right? They done these studies on all these West African groups, right? They actually trace them all the way to the Nile Valley, the northwest Nile Valley. So that's why I said earlier, our ancestors originally came from Sudan and all the way to West Africa and mixed with those Congoid people, because the Congo people already came to Sierra Leone and this region, as fishing group, and then we mixed with them before the Arabs or the Berbers came, and destroyed the Ghana Empire, movement. And these are the history that is written, from us and people in West Africa. The Mandinka also write these things, and and if you go to Morocco, these are written factors that have been confirmed by the Moroccans also. But when you mentioned the Almoravid dynasty did play a lot in terms of the intermixture, to where you see some of our genetics coming, the father side, this, the mother side, this, the mother side, that, the father side, this, because during the Almoravid days, you're right on that. I agree with you because look at Mauritania now. Mauritanians, these people in Mauritania now, they're not native to that land. Those people that you say live in Mauritania, they took
So you
that land
saying
over.
so you saying the blacks that live in Mauritania are not indigenous or the Berbers?
The Berbers in Mauritania are not indigenous. They came there. This all happened after the Almoravid fell. When Almoravid dynasty fell, when Alfonso the Great chased
The
us out of the
Almoravid
land.
dynasty wasn't even supplanted in Mauritania. It was in Morocco.
No, you're not listening. When the Almoravid dynasty, when it fell, when that fell, yeah, those people you see in Morocco and Mauritania overpopulated this land because remember Alfonso the Great told them if you're not going to convert to become a Catholic or Christian, you'll be expelled. So those came back. If you go to Morocco in the archive, they'll tell you during those days the first emir of Morocco was a Fulani because basically we gave these people refuge in that territory. And also, there's a lot of documentation that prove to say some of these Moroccans, their father side is actually Mediterranean, Europeans who were brought to Africa, during the Tuaregs who were actually enslaving Europeans in the African continent.
All right,
So there's
let me throw
yeah.
something at you, bro. Let me throw
So over
something
the
at
years, we had loads of admins to my brother.
you. Okay, well let me throw something
We
at
got
you,
to
bro.
be careful. Yeah.
I'm being real careful. I study before I talk. You know what I'm saying? Like I really
Yeah,
do.
yeah, no, I
I
think you're
study,
knowledgeable also.
and I
I
do
agree.
comparison studies too, comparative studies. I don't just read one thing, do a Google search and just start reading.
No,
If
I
it's
don't
some-
Google. I
This
don't go
comes
to
from
South
a
Africa.
massive digital library of Africanity. Okay, so what I'm
Yes.
gonna ask you about is
This one
why
I'm telling you come from the
what
Fullers
what
and the
caused
Moroccans.
what caused what caused proto Mende people to leave Tichy?
The Mende, if you look at the Mende also, now you mentioned another group,
What
right?
caused proto Mende people to leave Tichy, to abandon Tichy?
Where is teaching now in the world history, in the map of
Tichy
Africa?
Tichy is in Mauritania, southern Mauritania.
Yeah. Do you know that
So
that's the reason
what
why
caused them to do that? Was it the aridification of the Sahara, or was it Berbers?
it's both. I believe it was. I
Well,
have to go back to it because I don't want to speculate on it. You see, but all I'm saying is those aspects that I just mentioned in terms of the Barbers and the Tuareg and the Fuller interaction. In terms of the native land of the Fullers, the origin of the Fullers. These are factors that's been approved by the scholars, by Europeans who done different studies, and also these are factors that came from the Mali Empire, library in Timbuktu. Because as a Fuller guy, I will probably recommend. I'll try and get well. He speak this. He translate this in Fuller because we during the Mali Empire we wrote a lot of our stuff in Fuller, but we write it in Arabic, right? So these are things that have been passed on, So and also don't forget where northern Nigeria is also, the guy called Ich bin Nafi, yeah, and also during Mesopotamia, I don't mean forget about Ich bin Nafi. During Mesopotamia, they actually built a fort around where Chad is today. Because if you look at the Chadic branch people, their ancestral DNA and the pool gene over there is very, very diverse. And us Fuller people used to travel to that region a lot, right? And we actually had a
why?
lot,
Why did they
right?
travel? Why did they travel back and forth to the Central
Cattle,
Sahara to
I
West
think
Africa?
I think it was I
Because
think
they
it
were
was cattle herders.
nomads. They were
Yes,
nomads.
cattle herders. Yes, cattle
Yeah,
herders. Not all of them.
that's their original culture. And then when they started assimilating with
Yeah,
agriculturalists, then they started adopting sedimentary farming. That's
yeah.
why now
Okay.
some of them
Um,
don't
I
migrate.
don't. I don't. Okay. I. Okay. We were not originally nomads as a tribe. We did not start as a nomad. This is a region factor. In
But
fact,
but
so,
modern West Africans as a whole started off as pastoralists. They were
um,
even hunter gatherers that was in West Africa before modern West Africans were nomadic
well,
hunter gatherers,
okay.
bro.
I'm
Most
talking about
humans
like
most
I'm
humans
talking about
started off as migratory hunter gatherers, bro.
I'm talking about the Fullers who you call as the Bororo Fuller today, because the Bororo Fuller are the nomads of the Fuller group. The Bororo are the ones that brought this Chadic branch into the Fullers from where Chad is today, and you can tell they're still there. They're still, struggling in northern Nigeria and that region. Throughout history, they still, struggle with these new people that they encounter because Lake Chad have
And
dried up
you
full.
know what's funny about the Bororos?
Yeah,
They not even Muslim, bro. Like predominantly they non-Muslim. And the ones that adopted sedentary farming, those are the ones that became Muslim. So I'm trying to
you are very
understand
right. I tell
each
you what,
one
you're so right on that.
each one
I agree with
shows
you.
more affinity to the origins than the other. To me, it looks like nomadic pastoralism and cattle culture and cattle worship is where Fulani's originated from.
No,
We even see
no,
that
according to the,
we even see
no,
that
according to the,
in the east. We see that in East Africa with the Nilotic people that practice pastoralism. They practice cattle worship. They believe cattle are holy. They even use cattle piss to help them with stuff with physical ailments. You know what I'm
I,
saying? Like, come on,
yes,
bro.
I think is those Bedouin people and that came to Africa that introduced us to this culture. If I'm honest with you, and there's a where there's a. I need to get the link for you one day. How Fuller people describe the cow, what it means to them and the origin of it and stuff like that. Because that's so cool.
Pastoralism is a lifestyle that transcends races, bro. Like you don't have to be white Arab or you don't have to learn it from white Arabs to practice pastoralism. It's a lifestyle that people been practicing for thousands of years, bro. You know what I'm saying? And first of all,
Yeah.
Berbers, what they all Berbers not even pastoralists. The ones that live on the
No, they're
Mediterranean
not.
coast are
No,
foreigners.
they're
They
not. That's true.
just
Yeah,
like agriculturist sub-Saharan
yeah,
Africans. You
yeah.
know, so
But
it's crazy how some people like when Brandon he brought up the Bedouin thing. You know, yeah, Bedouins are Arabs for the most part. You know, but they
some of them are Arabs,
yeah,
not all
some
of
of
them.
see, look, you know this.
Yeah,
Some of them are
yeah.
Arabs, and some of them might be North Africans. They might be Nilotes mixed with Berbers.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
you don't know that. Brandon don't know that. You know, that's
No,
the thing, and that's what I was trying to get y'all to understand.
no.
He talking
Honestly,
about
early on, it's only because he was too rowdy and noisy. You were making a great point, very important point, and factual point. I agree with some of the stuff you're saying, but some of the stuff you were saying was also a little bit confusing, and I couldn't hear it. And I think you need to I think we need to. That's why I said to you some time ago we need to link up and
yeah,
talk about
that's because
some of
we
the
got a
other stuff.
bunch of dudes, you know, we got dudes that don't really have no range in the conversation that shouldn't even be talking. Now, I rather talk to Brandon about it so he can learn, you know, because I feel like
Li-
Brandon is more receptive, even though, you know, a lot of us have this black first stigma, you know, bro, humans is humans, bro. You know, blackness is an adaptation to environment. You know, the reason why the earliest humans was supposedly black or had dark brown skin is not because they was the same race. It's because they emerged in a tropical environment where it was hot and humid. You know, so they had to have dark skin so they could be protected from the sun. The reason why whiteness might not have been around as long as darkness is because humans didn't start migrating to regions that were not tropical until a little later. That's why later on you start seeing people with lighter adaptations or non-tropical adaptations. So when with that being said, when you view a North African, just because he white don't mean he not African, because you got Berbers, you got people on the North African coast that don't look black at all, and they more African than some of these black ass African Americans. Like they genetics don't go nowhere to Europe. It don't go nowhere to the Middle East. Matter of fact, they got sub-Saharan genetics. They got. I seen one person. They was like 5% Ghanaian, 5% Senegalese, 50% Algerian and 50% Moroccan. No genetics outside of the continent. But you trying to, not you, but people in general trying to tell me that Africans can't be non-black. That it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense when these people have the same paternal lineage. They descend from the same ancestral population as most modern West African black men, which is haplogroup E. Now, the only difference with these people is they intermix with different type of women. Okay, sub-Saharan men that had haplogroup E, they intermixed with with women that was carrying haplogroup L1 and L2 and L0, which was black sub-Saharan hunter-gathering women. And they replaced the men that had haplogroup A and B. They replaced them and pushed them further south. Who is that? Proto-Cosign people and Proto-Pygmy people. I got a paper on that too. And then North Africans, which is E1B1B, they intermix with U6 women, women that was carrying haplogroup H, U6, and another haplogroup that I can't remember. And those women had populations in Africa, in the Middle East, and Southern Europe. So I'm trying to understand, where are people trying to get with this? You know, they trying to divide Africa and they really trying to recolonize it, and they saying people can't be indigenous because they not black. It just doesn't make sense. When we know Tuaregs ain't never been black except recent times, you know, maybe not super recent, but we know blackness is because of a divert or a emergence or a merging of cultures. Because the people in the Fazan, which is modern day Libya, or in the Central Sahara that had the Garamintes culture, they was assimilating with sub-Saharan people that lived in the Sahel. We know this. And they even have a paper, a scholarly paper, where they have sub-Saharan people that might have had leadership in the Garament society. You know, like they wasn't all slaves. You know what I'm saying? But let's just accept the facts, bro. These different people went to war. Some people needed free labor. You know, it is what it is. Black Africans enslaved other people and they enslaved themselves too, just like Amazigh people. But just because they a different race, don't mean that they not indigenous. I got a link that's pulled up and I can share it and we can go to Asia right now. Asia is the second most diverse continent in the world. In Asia, got 3 to 4 different races of people. But nobody argues about those people being indigenous Asians. Nobody argues about that. It only when it comes to Africa, everybody got to be black. Why is that? Because
Or
Egyptians,
or Bantu,
all because they
that
want
crazy.
Egypt. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Bantu's
Or
not even
Bantu,
that
right?
old.
And
Bantu's not
even
even that old, bro. They've been around for the past 5,000 years, bro. They not
mm,
even that old. West African Bantus, they common ancestor with West Africans came from the Western Sahara when the Sahara
so
was green.
I believe the people in the West are older than Bantu. Bantu is a new thing. It's a new
Yeah,
phenomenon.
people in West Africa is older than Bantu because
Mm,
Bantu, that's where the ancestral population emerged from in the Western Sahara. That's where it
yes.
emerged from. But then when they start traveling further south, because the Sahara was drying out, not because of Berbers from Libya, some of it was because of that, but that mostly happened because with the people that stayed back in Mauritania, like the people that's in Mauritania right now, like Wolof, the Sanike, the Fulani, the little small groups of
Yeah.
Fulanis that still live in Mauritania. Those
Yeah.
the people that end up dealing with the Berbers because the majority of the population they already deserted Walata and Tichi. Why? Because the Sahara was drying up, the
Yes.
Sahara desert was stretching, and they
Yeah.
couldn't practice their lifestyle in the desert because they
Yeah.
practiced agro-pastoralism and they needed grass. You know,
Yeah.
that's why Fulanis come to Nigeria and they eat all the grass up, and people
Yeah.
want to kill them because the Sahara, where they from,
Yeah.
they can't thrive and feed their animals. But
No.
Bantu people, they common ancestor emerged in West Africa with West Africans, and the difference is they emerged in the Congo. Like when West Africans start traveling further south into the Congo, they was meeting other type of hunter gatherer women that was already absorbed in that type of
What
lifestyle, and they was
what
having
we
kids with them.
yeah.
Go ahead.
What we understand in West Africa that most of us came from Sudan. But if you ask most of the Malinka people, Mandika, they will tell you they came from Sudan. If you ask the Wolof, they will tell you they came from Sudan. And if
Nothing
you
wrong
look
with
at
that, but when,
yeah, but if you look at and also
when,
look at us, huh? When
when though, when
yeah,
because
that's the question.
anybody
Yeah, no. Let me finish. That's true. If you ask the Fullers, if you look at the Fuller culture, also they will tell you, and according to the geogenetic and historical um, thing that's been recently done, which is the final study that they've done on Fullers, they'll tell you they came from Sudan. So that's how it's
genetics
pointed
don't
out.
prove that they from Sudan. Genetics show that they indigenous to West Africa.
No, we,
That's
we
what
still have
genetics show.
we still have we still have Fuller people in Sudan. I don't know if you know that
Yeah, that's
in the group.
yeah. But you don't know when they got there because Fulani people are nomadic. The
No, but
original culture
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah. But
Fulani was nomadic,
in Sudan,
and
in
then they
South
was
Sudan.
Muslims. They was
No, but
Muslims. So how you know they didn't make Hajj to the east and then just settle in Sudan. You know, it's
no,
Hausa people that live in Ethiopia right now because they made Hajj. They ancestors made Hajj, and they never didn't want to come back to West Africa. They
yes,
settled.
you're right. They're more Hausas. There are a lot of Hausas in fact in Sudan, and also this is what I was talking about with the male, the haplogroup that you was talking about. Because when they do if you do a genetic testing of the Fulani from Nigeria and Chad, you would have a different haplogroup to the one in West Africa. You see. This is what we got to be careful of because those in West Africa they're totally genetically different to those in Nigeria. In fact, the one that was
Not
the guy
necessarily.
done, yeah, and 100%. According the last one, the last study that was done on the fullers in Senegambia, they find out. No, sorry, I apologize. In Cameroon, they realized those fullers that went to Cameroon, to Nigeria, where Adamawa, That's one of our last kingdoms, right? Remember, I mentioned Toro, Kuta Toro, Masina, Kuta Jalon, and Adamawa. So that one in Adamawa, they actually realize, because we have been intermixed with the Hausa for so long, those Fulani are the least Niger Congo Fulani today. They're more Afro-Asiatic than they are Fulani, by according to the genetics. So you can see how the Niger Congo part of the Fulani is fading away, to the Hausa. So the Hausa are actually eating them up. So if you do a genetic test on them, because the Hausa, their paternal DNA is actually come from European. Their father side is actually European instead of being African. And especially those around Chad. But when you look at that also, you need to be careful of this DNA pattern, because how do you know is actually not that DNA actually does not originate from that region of the Sahel that end up spreading into Europe, but then the white man is making it look like the DNA came from Europe to Africa.
Because they have different ways to verify. Okay,
Yes, and
when you
I'm glad
notice,
you, I'm glad I'm glad you mentioned this, because the one that was done with the Fulani, they actually exactly. I'm glad you mentioned it. So when they done the DNA of the Fulani in West Africa in general, they told, hang on a minute, these people have Berber admixture and they have Niger Congo admixture. And how did they acquire this? Did they actually have it, the Berber admixture before? They mixed with the Niger Congo. Then when they
because
went
of
back,
migration.
yeah, because of migration and different patterns, all the research concluded that they actually originated from Senegal. So this is why we need to be careful, because these
Yeah,
things that
but
they do,
people
yeah,
transcend locations, bro. Like
yeah. But
I mean, the
it's
fact,
yes, it did all the indication. They twist and turn the testing.
what part of Senegal do Fulanis emerge from? What part of
Toro
Senegal?
is a border
Toro.
before,
That's that's North Senegal, right?
northern You see,
That's
okay,
North
south
Senegal
of
and Southern
south of
Mauritania.
south of Mauritania to northern Senegal, the
Yeah,
border between it.
yes, and
100%, you're spot on.
that's where Berbers met up with Sarir
So
people,
Ninke,
the ancestors, the Niger Congo ancestors of Fulani.
and also
So
the Mende people of Sierra Leone, that's where they came from. If you look at the Mende
they
people of
did.
Sierra Leone, if you look at the Mende people of Sierra Leone, they're very much alike like the Fulani. If you see some of them, they actually look like Fulani. In Sierra Leone, sometimes we struggle to make a difference between the Mende and the Fulani, even though I'm a Fula, because they light skinned people, they got nice features and stuff like that. So that's why we actually are more connected, you know, um, with the Mende in Sierra Leone than the other tribes, even though the Fullers intermarried with the Timini tribe in Sierra Leone more than the Mende. But um, there is a branch of the Mende in Sierra Leone. They call them the Kai Kai Mende. The Kai Kai Mende actually are Fullers who actually have Mende admixture, and these are known to be like that. You know, so and the Mende came from south around Mauritania region, and we're very much alike. So we were invaded by Berber Tuaregs, and we got into mixed breed with them, and then eventually, we some of us have more of
You don't
the Berber
necessarily
Tuareg.
know how though. Like Berbers could have been running from Islam. Like the ones that didn't want to practice Islam, they could have been moving
Yes,
in.
yes,
Like
the Tuaregs, yes, yes, but the Tuaregs
everything not
moved
an
in.
invasion, everything not violence. Like people be trying
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
you
But
know,
no, honestly, there was one time there's also a lot of research that so they was actually scared of us, the Berber Tuareg. They actually we let them settle. The Fuller and the Soninke let them settle because the Fuller and the Soninke were very close allies at once. Unfortunately, we wasn't at all times. We was oppressed, right?
and that's the same with
According,
Berbers.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
same with
According
Berbers.
according to the history of the Fullers, I think we was oppressed by the Soninke during the Ghana Empire. That's why when the Berber Tuareg came and break through, that's why some of the Fullers, you know, break apart from that Tuklo area or where you call Toro and merge with the Tuaregs and became pastoralized, and they become people that move around because they feel like, hang on a minute, find my freedom with these new people and this new movement. Boom. And obviously, over the years, the Fuller and the Mandinka aligned together and destroyed the Ghana Empire, so, and they eventually build the Mali Empire. yeah, to break away from it. But then years later, the Fula and the Mandinka had a war. It was the Soninke that helped us fight against the Mandinka, where, they call it Battle of Kansala, where it was only one Mandinka survived the war, who actually blew himself, and he left a letter saying, he don't want this war to ever happen ever again. He want every Fula to intermarry with the Mandinka. He want every Mandinka to intermarry with the Fula, because it's a nasty war. So these are the things we wrote down and we pass on over and over and over.
Yeah, you talking about Turube type stuff. You talking about Islamic Turube cleric type
Yes,
stuff.
but before Islam, because the Wagadu was an Islamic empire. Before Wagadu, the Fula were oppressed by the Soninke. So some of the Fulas break away from the Soninke, the Ghana
You sure it
empire.
wasn't the Soso?
Yeah, the Soninke are part of the Susu are Soninke. You know that?
Nah, they are distinguished. They are distinct from each other. They
No,
Mende,
the
they
Susu.
both
Listen,
Mende, but they both have distinct cultures.
no, yeah, they do have distinct culture, but originally are also the same people.
They had their own language and they had their own distinct
They
culture, but
still
they are
have they still
Mende.
have the they still have their own language, they still have their own culture, but they are genetically almost the same people.
So who was the tribal? I mean, who were the tributary states? Who ran the tributary states under the Soninke during Ghana?
The Susu and the Soninke. The Soninke themselves was doing it.
Soninke was the rulers of the Ghana Empire,
Yeah, yeah,
but the
yeah,
Susu they were the ones that was in subjugation, and that's
yeah.
why after the Muslims left, after the Muslim dynasty ruled Ghana for a little while, the Susu came and they took the power back, and that's when it started to decline. After the Islamic influence, it started to decline, and then it ultimately fell when the Susu kings ruled the empire of Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that
So
clear that makes a clear distinguish, that they were different peoples because the fact that
okay, is
Susu
it,
kings they felt like they were subjugated and they had to
they're
pay
almost the
tribute
same people. The only
to
difference between
Soninke
them is
kings.
because one of them big the,
Yeah, they
the
come from
only difference
similar
between them
ancestral
genetically.
populations. Yeah, but when
Okay,
people
yeah,
see
that's it.
themselves
That's
as
it. That's
different
what I'm trying
people,
to say.
yeah, if people see
Culturally,
themselves,
they are, yes.
yeah, but if they see them,
Culturally, they are.
but
Yeah.
you can't change somebody that see themselves as a distinguished group. You know what I'm saying? And that's just like that's what people be trying to do in Egypt. Like just because some of them was white and all that, like, and they was in Africa, they be trying to make it seem like all Africans was black. And
Mm.
nowhere in history does it ever say that. The Egyptians never said that. No scholars never said that. The early Europeans, the Greeks and the Romans, when they first came to Africa, who was the first people that they called Africans? Because Africa is a term that was deemed by outsiders,
Africa was given to us by Italians. Africa. In
and
fact,
that
the word
was that was coastal North Africans, bro.
yeah.
Those was
In fact,
coastal North
Africa,
Africans. You know what they
Africa.
called? You know what they called Berbers that lived in the land of the blacks back then? They called them white
No,
Ethiopians because the land of the blacks was called Ethiopia by Europeans. Africa
uh,
was North Africa. Africa was the land of the Berbers.
no, not Africa was the Africa. Yes, you're right. You're
And,
100%
and, and
right.
Ethiopia was the land where the black tribes was. So that
Yes.
show you right there that even back in antiquity, it was different racial groups in Africa.
Oh yeah, I do not deny that. I do not deny. The only bit I deny that we came from the Barbers. We did not. We are the
Nah,
Barbers.
we
We
came
actually
from
came.
Berbers and Sub-Saharans.
Yes,
It's
we
called
came. We are
see
sub.
you see a lot of
No,
people they
get
they
up,
got
get up,
this
get
they
up,
got this
get up,
paternal they got
get
this
up.
patriarch.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna let you go. But a lot
Mm,
of people think on a patriarchal scale. I don't think
mm,
on a patriarchal scale. I think on a scientific scale. They have
mm.
they came from two parent populations like most humans do. Okay, they came from a sub-Saharan component and a
Mm.
North African component. That's why
Yes.
Fulanis are the ones that's more closer to the old stock, the old Fulani stock. That's why people call them Arabs or people call them people that's not from here, foreigners. They call them North Africans because they have a North African component, bro.
Yes, my brother. I agree with that. Also, I agree. The only thing is, this study that I read is the study that they turned the research upside down. They think, what about if the Fulani came from the north? whether they came and mixed with the South. How about if they came from the South and they mixed with the North? They concluded that we came from the South, we originally from the South in Toro, and mixed with those in the North, and that's what we got. Because if you notice, we don't only just have the Tuareg ancestry, but if we dig inside, we have this Semitic also, which is the Jewish ancestry, and we
Yeah,
have
to a smaller
and
extent, yeah.
yeah, and we have Khoisan or in there, and start to a smaller extent. So they and also
Most
we got some
Africans got cosign ancestry.
and
Most,
also we
most
have
even white North Africans got
yes,
cosign ancestry.
yes,
Something that
yes,
people
and
don't
also we
want to
have
admit.
yes, and also we have the we have Nilotic in us also, that make us very different admixture. But the research concluded that we came from, the unfortunately we came from the black side, but we mixed with the white
It's nothing unfortunate about that, bro. Like
no, but
the only
yeah,
reason why people like, look, I'm gonna just keep it real with you, bro. Look,
mm,
North and West Africans or Sub-Saharan Africans, they came
same
from
thing, man,
one
same thing,
ancestor, bro. They came,
same,
so
same.
we don't even know what the original carrier of haplogroup E looked like. He could have been a mectoid, bro. He probably wasn't even a Negro because haplogroup DE came from Afrasia. It came from the Horn of Africa and parts of Asia, bro.
Yes,
Because the way they found that out is because it was very, now most people believe they emerged from the Horn, but the fact that it was old anthropological findings in the Levant that had carriers of E1B1A and E1, well, mainly E1B1B,
mm,
that's why people say they probably came from a community that lived in Africa and Asia. But later
yeah,
on in time, these people spread out in the Sahara. They spread out in the Sahara and they start meeting different women and that's what causes genetic subclade and genetic mutations. When
the
one
the
genetic population or
yeah,
one type of genetic chromosome, it meets
yeah,
with a different chromosome and then they
yeah,
develop adaptations that are developed locally in those regions. So when
yeah,
these people that carry haplogroup E, when they split, you got people in North Africa meeting up with Eurasian women that was already there that carry
yes,
haplogroup U6
on
and haplogroup H and K. They
yes,
was
yes,
there. And then you got people that carry the same or similar haplogroups in the Sahel region in the Western Sahara and
yes.
further south, they meeting women that was living there already, that was carrying
Oh yes,
haplogroup
oh yes, you are right.
L
You're
zero,
right,
and
you know,
they
absolutely.
and back
Mm,
then the Sahara was green. So of course it
yes,
was tropical people there.
you,
Of
you
course it
can
was
see.
people there that was tropical because it was green
Yeah,
and humid and hot.
yes. Get
That's what
up.
I'm trying
You
to
can.
get Brandon to understand. Go ahead.
You're 100. Yeah, you're right on that. I hope you did. I hope. I was hoping you listened to that. Well, we didn't have a lot of time. People were interrupting you. It did not help. Well, you can tell us, our full ancestors, been interacting with Northern and Southern European women and those women in the North for a long time. you
Why,
know, we
why
married
does
with. Yeah.
why do Fulanis? Okay, I know it's probably other people that drink milk, but
Mm,
for the most part,
mm.
Fulanis have they have the
The tolerance.
lactate. Yeah, they have the
Yeah. This.
lactate mutation.
Yes. Yes. But that's
That's the
because.
mutation that emerged in Europe.
No, but you see, this is another thing you got to be careful of because of our lifestyle. We're pastoralized. We survive. We cattle herders, so we bound to over the years. We passed it on to our children, right? So this is what I'm trying to say to you, kiddo. We need to be careful of what these people are trying to do. The only people in West Africa, the only tribe in West Africa that have their paternal ancestors to the that mix with the Europeans from the father side are the Hausas and the Kanuris. But even them, what because of the Chadic branch of West African. Even them, you got to be careful, that they're not making this up to be like, oh, it came from their side, or I believe it's Hausa and Kanuris, the genetics that actually been spread out of the entire Europe. Is the children that they bred over the years that spread out to the entire Europe, not the other way around.
The
We need
problem
to be
is
careful. Mm.
the problem is, bro, when we
That's
dealing
how
with
that's how it looked like to me
ancient,
anyway. It
when we
looked like
dealing with
the Hausa and the Fulani. Sorry, it looked
when
like
we
Hausa and Kanuris are the one that breed all these European children and some of the Asiatic. And I believe it looked like the Fulani also have married in West, like European, like Spanish, Portuguese women over the years, and has intermixed Tuaregs over the years, and have children, prehistoric days because of the geography. And I believe that we, us, our people, the Fulani and the Mande group, used to lived in where Morocco is today. During those period, we actually married, and have a lot of admixture children over the years and spread our DNA. This is my take in it, to be honest.
But this is what I want to say about the whole
Yeah,
problem. This is
yeah,
the problem when you deal
yeah.
with Pan Africans and you talk about
They
African
don't listen, man. You're too
paleontology.
knowledgeable for them. You're too knowledgeable
The
for them, brother.
problem
That's the problem.
is
Yeah.
people trying to bring a European westernized view of race. They want to bring race into a scientific conversation, and it don't work. It don't work. See, when you keep thinking along the lines of black and white, oh, we the original black, 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 black. That's you're gonna always run into a
They,
problem, and then
yes.
you're gonna have a big argument because people have emotional attachments to this shit. You know what I'm
And
saying?
and you come up with a different angle and people don't like it, you see, and they try to attack you because they don't like to get it back. The reality is you coming up with the real angle, not the emotional point of view. And a lot of these black brothers, they want something to cling on to, for no reason.
But they
And
don't want to cling to West Africa though. That's the
they don't want to
problem with
cling to
me.
West Africa. Yeah, exactly. No, you're 100% right. I agree
Like,
with you.
bro, we was making babies in West Africa, Africa for the past 19,000 years, bro. What the hell do
We've
we
been
got to do
mixing.
with Egypt?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like you heard your boy Kashta Zulu. He say the only reason that they developed astronomy was because they was from the Nile Valley. Like that's stupid. That's the
No, that's not
stupidest shit
true.
I ever heard. So you don't think maybe they was able to see what was going on in the sky because they lived on cliffs? You don't think that had nothing to do with it? You it just gotta be associated with Egypt. Like, bro, come on, bro. That's what I say. Niggas be showing they self-hate in so
It's
many different
doggone.
ways, bro. Instead of actually learning about West Africanisms, they want to just say, oh, it all came from Egypt. It all came from bro. Everybody know Egyptians ain't black, bro. Everybody know, bro. We got pre dynastic artwork with people from the old kingdom that are not black. They are not black. Like when I'm talking to
It
y'all,
depends
I
on the period.
already
It
know,
depends on the period.
bro.
It
The
depends on the
first
period.
black pharaohs, was in the when the Nubians took over, bro. That was the first black pharaohs, bro. Because them people in that part of the North Africa, they not black, except the Nubians. Them people in Egypt, they wasn't black, dog. We got the
I
artwork, we got the genetics, we got the linguistics. Them people, Nilo-Saharan speakers are are black. You know what I'm saying?
I
Afro-Asiatic
think
speakers in Egypt, they not black, bro. It is what
I
it is.
believe the downfall of Mesopotamia got a lot to do with the influence of rebuilding the Egyptian dynasty.
Mesopotamia was still on and popping when Egypt emerged, bro. It
Yeah,
was still on
yeah.
and popping. The
That's
thing
why.
about it is
Mm,
people don't want to accept that well, they don't even know that they emerged like your
but
black paternal ancestors with haplogroup E. If you got that haplogroup, they
no,
emerged from the same thing that they talking about, like people from the
the
Middle East or whatever. They
the where
emerged from the same people.
you know, where I agree on you on that. Us West Africa don't have a lot to do with the Egyptian dynasty. If there's any black that have anything to do with the Egyptian dynasty, it's those that you mentioned
The
earlier.
Nubians.
Yes, no, not the Nubians. The Nubians are we did our language and most of our genetic. Remember, I mentioned about the Northwest Nile Valley and so on in West Africa. That connect us to West African to Nubian people. But those
How does that
in
do that though? When you consider
I could
the range
yeah
of time that they diverged, because people
it,
develop
it,
their own culture. Now, I'm not
it,
denying you because
yeah
Soy Keita, he has a theory, that people in the Sahara
mm,
that diverged from each other thousands of years before Egypt existed. They spoke a
mm,
language called Niger. No, it was called Niger Saharan or something like that. It was
yeah
like a proto language that Nilotics and Niger Congo people spoke.
people
But
speak okay
but it doesn't make sense because Nilotic people, they have different DNA. They have different genetics than West Africans. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
I
saying? They
believe
have
it
different
was those
genetics.
Nilotic Egypt. Nilotic got more to do with Egypt, the north and north, like well, the south of Egypt, where you call the north, in practically, than the West African. West African, we had the only time we had stuff to do with Egypt, it was during Nubia, and that is the only time we had connection with Egypt. But before Nubia, it was to do with those people that you see today as like Somalian, Ethiopian, and so on. These were the ones that had anything to do with Egypt. So West Africans of this West African descent in America, have no right to claim to be part of the Egyptian dynasty because that
I
is
really
not.
don't think they do, dog. But they don't
Yeah,
want to claim West Africa. They don't want to claim because they feel
yeah,
like
they
because
should
they
claim
don't.
to be the Mali Empire, and in fact, a lot of the stuff that they had in Egypt, some of their stuff came from West Africa. So they should be proud of that also because the reality is West Africa.
But look at
Have
this. Look at this. Look, he
yeah,
say some North Africans to the naked eye look Arab, but genetically are 100% African, and that's true because
yeah,
I have posted images with North African genetics. They took DNA tests, bro, and they genetics ain't nowhere outside of Africa. It's only in
yeah,
North Africa and some parts of sub-Saharan Africa, bro. But this is
yeah,
true because why? Because North Africans have more Middle East, they have proto Middle Eastern affinities. Why is that?
yes,
Because in North Africa, it was women that came from populations in the Middle East in Southern Europe, bro. But them people was there for thousands of years. They was there for thousands of years. Those people are not invaders. What black people was in North Africa where it's cold, where it's cold and sometimes it get warm. It's like a moderate temperature. What black people finna be out in the mountains freezing cold at night? And it don't the hottest it get is like maybe 70, 80 degrees. What black people finna be up there?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I understand that. The reality is you have to understand, migration within the continent and intermarriages. But and also I agree that you know basically us West Africans, Black Americans of West African descent don't have a lot to do with Egypt, a part of
West
Nubia.
Africans in West Africa don't have a lot to do with Egypt because
No,
they was developing their own
their
shit
own system.
at the
They
same
should
time when
they should
Egypt
be
was developing their shit.
they should be proud of that because to finish we had a lot of great kingdoms and a lot of great empires in West Africa.
Bro,
So if only they can. Mm,
they got some findings, bro, that's near Gabon and Cameroon where they
yeah,
was smelting iron since
yeah,
like 4,000, 3,000 BCE, bro. So where does
in
that
Benin,
leave room for Egypt?
in Benin,
Yeah,
Benin.
in those areas, somewhere in the where it's real marshy and savannah like in the
Yeah,
wet savannah. They was over
and
there
also
smelting iron, bro.
also
You know
most of
why?
our yeah,
Because iron, they have iron deposits in the soil. They
uh,
have iron deposit in the soil. So iron, nobody had to disperse or migrate to West Africa and teach them how to smell iron. They picked
no,
that shit up because they was already using stone tools. And they said, you know what? Let's see what we can do with this shit. We could probably make it hot and make the same type of tools that we use with stone and make them with iron. And we could probably start going to war and taking over these other niggas.
yeah,
Like,
no,
come
that's
on,
true.
dog.
No, but
Come on.
you're right. You're right on that. Absolutely, you should be proud of. Like the Dogon that they still talk about, Dogon have no connection to Egypt, never in West African history. I can tell you that they Dogon people come from Mali. I got people that came from Mali, and I know a lot about this time. There's not one finding in West Africa to say
Dogon are a branch
the
of
Dogon
Mende
came.
people. They are a group of Mandinka people that diverge and practice their own culture. And they
Yeah,
move to the escarpments, the cliffs. They
yeah,
are Mandinka people, the people of Mandin. Mandinka means people of Mandin. That's where Mandinka
yeah,
people come from.
yeah,
Mandin.
yeah,
They
yeah.
don't have no connection to Egypt. If you
No,
go over
they
there
do.
and
If
talk
they
to,
do,
to, to talk to
if they
Balake
do,
Sissoko, he ain't gonna tell you shit about Egypt. Now
if
I
they do, they
understand
will tell you it's Sudan. That's it.
they
You
ain't even
know,
gonna
and
say that. Some of them might say it because they got Islamic influence, But the ones that's not Islamic, they ain't gonna say shit about Sudan.
Mm.
Most of that
Yeah.
shit, they even talk about it in a book called African Dominion. How the griots, they when they start becoming Muslim, they started changing the stories up and shit because they had Islamic influence and they was trying to show that they had affiliation to the prophet or people from the east so that they can have power. Bro, that shit go back. The shit that people doing now, it go back way to ancient times, bro. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. People been doing that shit. They been changing shit. Even Berbers do that shit. They be claiming that they descend from the Prophet Muhammad so that they could be a
And
king in they city or they society. You know,
but that's what
people
the
been doing
Arabs,
that.
that's what the Arab did to us and them. Because when the Arabs came, they said to them, the only way you can be a mayor or a leader, you have to have like some percentage of Arab blood in you. So over the
Yeah,
years, a lot of these people, even if they have 0% Arab blood, they will claim to have Arab blood so they could be a mayor or some kind of stuff. And this what they're still doing in Sudan. They brainwash us over the religion. And then we know the religion is real, everything is right, but the people are actually spreading it. They're spreading it with their own propaganda in it for their own gain. So this is why the Fulani Mandinka and so on during the Mali Empire, they wrote the Quran in their own language, so no one can come in and actually change it or brainwash them. That's why the mod library in Timbuktu, which is the third oldest library in the world, is still there. And don't forget when the Fuller and the Manding group went to Spain, that's where they built the first university in the world as we know it. Most of the gold in Senegambia, went to Spain to build the Almoravids. I don't know if you know that. So the over the years we got chased out, out of Spain, and we came back to where our region is today. If you heard it, the Spanish people call Morocco and Mauritania, you can tell, they call it the land of the Moors, and stuff like that. It's no secret. We know that. And if you look
but
at yeah,
I just want to address low value man comment. He said Western Africa's connection to Egypt is only through Nubia. Now
yes, yeah,
that
and
that
that's very true. I said that to you before,
I
didn't I?
don't know if that's true, but now
It's
it
true,
depends
You
on
can't
what
deny
group
it,
of
honestly.
people. I can
Mm.
deny it, but it's one group of people that may have some type of connection. See, the way you connect this type of shit is through genetics, history, and linguistics. And it is a small group of people. I forgot what tribe it is. See, when you talk about shit like this, you gotta be specific. You can't just say West African people because West African people have different origins. You know what I'm saying? They have different origins, they have different histories, they have different migrations. But it is a group that can back it up with genetics because they have genetic continuity with that part of Africa. Not because they just saying that, and that's why science minded people they kind of support it a little bit because you can back it scientifically. And I'm not sure if it's the Balanta people, it's one of them Niger Congo. Well, I don't even know if they speak Niger Congo, but one of them West African peoples that's over there, they have genetic affinities with people that's in Sudan. And it shows that they probably recently migrated there because some of them may have Arab lineages and they may have been an admixture of those people that were admixed that migrated. You know what I'm saying? Now, that mean everybody in West Africa has origins in Nubia? No, it doesn't. Because we know in general, West Africa was already activated by the time it was before and by the time Egypt emerged. So how can we say that those people descend from Nubians when they was already moving and grooving by at the same time when Nubians and Egyptians had their states. And then Nubians have different genetics. Nubians do not share common paternal haplogroups with West Africans. Okay, people try to say Egyptians migrated to West Africa, but the Egyptians, where did Egyptians have tributary states at besides Nubia? In the Middle East, right? Didn't wasn't the Canaanites the people of Canaan, or they were small states in Canaan that would send tribute or they had didn't Egyptians have military posts in Canaan, or am I just making that up? Well, we
Honestly, I don't know. All I
that's what
know
I'm
is
saying. We got people
all,
that got a very limited
all I know
understanding of
is
what we talking about, but they trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
all
You
I
know,
know is
Egypt Egypt had military posts in Canaan so that they could develop a barrier or a buffer zone between other Middle Eastern people that were further east, like Assyrians, so that they can keep them out of Egypt. Okay. And we know that because Egyptians left stuff over there. They left things over there to show us that it was Egyptian presence in Canaan. Okay. But they say when they say, oh, well, Egyptians migrated to West Africa, we don't see shit. We don't see shit. We even see Egyptianization in Nubia because Nubians start adopting Egyptian shit. But we don't see shit when we come to West Africa. So where is this shit coming from? It's all coming from the mind of black supremacists, people that don't respect African diversity, and they want to treat Africa as, oh, well, black people run this. No, Africa is a diverse place, just like Asia. You got black people in Asia, you got yellow people in Asia, you got dark brown people in Asia, you got people that look white that's in Asia. So
yeah,
if Asia can be like that, why Africa can't be like that?
yeah. No, very true. I tell you what, Guido, you made a very, very great strong point there. And I think if us black, in fact, this support what you just said there is like a whole of a big bomb you just dropped out there, man. Because if Africans, people even in the diaspora and the continent can listen to what you just said and think about it, I think we'll be in a hell of a out of this mess that we're in at the moment. But unfortunately, Africans and Africans in the diaspora with their stupid black nationalist mentality that haven't got us nowhere, you
It
know,
ain't gonna get you
is
nowhere.
not gonna get you nowhere because the reality is, you look at the most developed countries in the continent and those in the north, and those in the north they know what we think about them. We see them as foreigners in their land, and you want to go through their land and cross Europe. Do you think they're gonna treat you nice? Do you think they're gonna like you? No, they go
But
online all the time and slagging out Africans. You know, these are Moroccans are this, this, Algerians are this, Libyans are this. Well, I tell you what, you might not like Gaddafi or the North Africa, but the only country in Africa that was open to all black Africans to come in, and work and earn money and build their life was Libya. Gaddafi. Gaddafi said to every
well,
when you see
Gaddafi
African that
had some
dying in
whole shit about him too, though.
yeah, no, you had a lot of negative stuff. I agree. But Gaddafi was the only African leader, black or Arab or Berber or whatever you want to call him, who said to the black Africans, come in, work hard, earn your money, live life, don't commit crime, send your money back home and help your people.
But
No
he
other
was,
person does that. You
but
give
he,
them jobs in the government. The Tuaregs that you see, black and brown skinned Tuareg, were the people who defended him. Were the people in the military in Libya. That's why we see. That's why you see we've got problem in the Sahel today, because this
that's
when
another
Gaddafi
thing.
got killed.
That's
Yeah,
another thing I
that,
want to say about the Tuareg. If the
yeah,
Tuaregs is black,
yeah.
if they black, how come the ones in Mali? Now, I highly doubt that they look at shit as black and white like these Negroes do over here. But they know the difference from Niger Congo speakers or Bambara speakers and Mandinka speakers and other
Pula.
speakers than
Yeah.
speakers that people that speak Tama shit. How come if they so blackety black, how come the Tuaregs in Mali they want to separate from the
Do you
Malian
know
state
why?
and they want to
Good
build
question.
the state of Azawad?
Very, very good question. Very good question. Do you know why?
Why?
Because because when partition happened, when Mali was split, those in the south they discriminate heavily. Even now, they discriminate a lot on the Tuareg. They are one of the highly discriminated group against in Africa by the black Africans, and they discriminated against the
Because
Berbers
they're
in
a
the north.
minority.
Yes, because they exactly. So if you look at Mali, Mali never had a Tuareg president ever since Mali was created as a state. The jobs
Hmm.
that they give them in the government is very, very, very little. You know, they don't have even like a VP or in the parliament. They just so they had enough. They feel like why are we marginalized? And if you look at Mali, they occupy the biggest land in Mali. You know where Bamako is to the south. You know, it's very tiny. And where
And they,
Marseille
yeah,
is
that's where the
in the
capital at, Bamako.
exactly. Where Bamako is it's the same thing that happened to Niger Republic. The only difference in Niger Republic is because the Hausa and the Fulas were very diplomatic with this the Tuareg, so we don't fight with them. You know, we're trying to calm them down. But in Mali, the Mandate group, they're very hostile towards them, so they don't have any diplomacy, right? So that's why the Tuaregs had enough. They pick up the weapon from their brothers in the north. And don't forget, I believe Algeria is behind that problem in Mali because they're helping them. They're more related to those in the north, right? And then
Hmm.
those like Bazoum in Algeria, in not Algeria, in Niger Republic, you know, the Fula and the Hausa tame them down a little bit, you know, because they have historical connections. But and we intermarried with them, you know, because we married a lot. The Hausa and the Fula and the Kanuris married into the Tuaregs more because of Islam. That's the only reason why they let us marry into their tribes. But those in Morocco, in the south of Morocco, you know, it's not only Islamic reason, but it's a historical reason why, you know, we intermarriage with them. And also over the years, a lot of the Fullers are married into the Tuaregs, they tend to disappear into their life. You know, they become Tuareg or Moroccan or so on. They don't class themselves as Fuller anymore. There was a documentary recently I watched about that in Morocco where a lot of the Fulanis who married into Moroccans over the years, they just disappear into Moroccan society. And if you ask them, you can see the Fulani in their face at the future. If you ask them, they'll say, no, no, I'm not Fula, I'm Moroccan, I'm Tuareg, my Baba.
Well,
Because,
that's because
you know,
that's
yeah,
how San Hodges, you know,
San
that's
Haja,
how they run their
San
shit.
Haja. Yeah,
You
the San
know,
Haja. Yeah, you're right.
they got a culture where, you know, and it depends on how they became assimilated. You know,
Yes,
I'm not
yes, that's
saying
it.
that everybody was slaves, but I know normally people that's Ikhlan, you know, and they have kids under that culture, they get assimilated
Yeah,
into San Haja culture, and they grow up
yeah,
thinking they San Haja,
San Haja.
speaking the
Do,
language,
do, do you
everything.
do you fo- do you follow the brother Shabaka?
Shabaka,
Yeah.
nah, I don't even know who that is.
He's a really good brother. He live in I think he live in Morocco. He does a lot of programs like this. You need to link up with him, brother, because he is I think he's in Fez or
Is he walking around saying that the indigenous people of northern Morocco was black?
no, he don't talk about that at all. He don't. What he does is he's especially the Fuller. He's a Fuller who found his ancestors around Sanhaja. That's his actually that's his middle name.
Yeah,
Sanhaja is his middle name. He's African American, the Black American brother. You know, Sabaka, Sanhaja, forgot Shabaka, Sanhaja.
San Haja just another word for Tuareg,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, Sanhaja and his last name. Oh God. I will send it to you on the email. I'll send you need to subscribe to his channel because he is in Morocco. He told it's honest. Listen, the guy is good. He go into the Almoravid dynasty. He goes into their libraries in Morocco. He study their work because I know there are a lot of different pullers that went to Morocco who study their history from that because it's nice to study our history from their angle and from our angle also and the European angle to see where you get these things right. But to the bottom line is us, our people that we stem from. We stem from, unfortunately, we stem from the Negro peer, the niggers, and
That's the
married.
problem. That's the problem. That
Yeah,
Negro pen
yeah,
thoughts,
we
that
stem.
train of
Yeah,
thought.
we know. The
They
fullers
try
we
to
have.
bring that into science. They try to bring
Yeah,
that into history, and
mm,
it just don't work. You know,
yeah.
even Brother Brandon, which I do agree with his sentiments on
Well, he
Gaddafi.
was making some good points also. Yeah,
Uh, to somebody that's not really studied yet, but Brandon was googling stuff and he was running with it. You know, but he did make a good point about Gaddafi. I feel like Gaddafi was an opportunist. He was an
Yes, he was.
opportunist.
He
He
making a
he
good point. He
he
was
wasn't
right.
able to carry out his will, with the
Around it.
Arabs. So he tried to carry out his will amongst Pan Africanism.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I
But
agree with that because
yeah,
because he, when he was alive, he had several campaigns against the southern Libyans. He had campaigns. He was trying to cut. I guess because they had oil reserve over there, or they had oil over there, and he was taking violent campaigns against them
he could,
instead of
he could,
working with them
he,
to help
he
them
was
gain
scared
money.
of them.
You
He
know,
was
and,
scared of
and
them.
they so they could both use so they could both win. But those
But
people, and it got to the
yes,
point where he wouldn't even give those people citizenship, or he would take away their citizenship. And,
yeah.
and don't get me wrong, just because Tubus are darker, don't mean that they the same race as West Africans. I'm just saying that
I think
people
they're
try to say it's
Nilotic.
racism,
They're
but it's
Nilotic.
not racism. Yeah, they are Nilotic people.
Yeah, yeah.
But people they kind of like they cluster close with Songhai people. They
Songhai.
cluster with them. They got a Eurasian component, but they Nilotic. They speak Nilotic, and most of their components is Nilotic. But
Well,
you
you mean the
know,
Songhai? Songhai, they came from the Songhai people.
yeah, they either came from them or the Songhai came from them. Well, one of the
Yeah,
two. But
yeah.
they
And the
Nilotic
houses,
people. But
and the
but
houses. You know the
but
houses are Asiatic. You know that, yeah.
yeah, they Afro-Asiatic speakers. Yeah.
No,
And,
people genetically also, right?
yeah, probably genetically too. Yeah, and I think
Yeah, they are.
they ancestors was Nilotes. That was
The
West
the
African
houses,
Nilotes.
the houses. Father side is Europe.
They father side probably was he probably was the one that was mixed, and then he probably married other Niger Congo women or Nilotic
No, no.
women.
I'm talking about the house side tribe in Nigeria. The Afro-Asiatic genetically and linguistically, and these are the people that we intermarried over the years, and their paternal side is European, even though they look dark, but their paternal side is
But
European.
when
And
anthropologists say European, they don't always mean somebody from France or Italy or something like that.
oh
They
no,
just saying
don't
somebody
forget the
that got
Europeans.
affinities
These
with
are our children
Eurasia.
that left the yeah, it's our children that left the continent and set up different
Yeah, they
camps
might
in
have left
Europe.
the continent and came back.
Yeah, that's
And,
what they are.
and that's another point I want to make. What
Mm.
Brandon said, he said something about the cosign, but then he said the cosign they left Africa, and when they left Africa, that's why they had different genetics than other West Africans, which is totally wrong. That might be correct with what he's saying, but the reason that's not the reason why they have different genetics, because they are an older people group than modern West Africans. That's why they have different genetics. Now they
Mm.
probably already had different genetics prior to their exit of Africa. And just because a group of cosign people left Africa, don't mean all of them did. Because
That's true.
that's
That's true. I agree with that.
incorrect, because cosign people, proto cosign people back in prehistoric times, not the modern ones, they were indigenous to Southwest Africa and South Central Africa. Okay,
Do
some of
you
them probably was in
you
West
know?
Africa. Go
Do you
ahead.
know we also as a Fulani we got our people down in Namibia? Also, I never knew that. And that was
Huh?
a guy. Us the Fula, we are connected to those in Namibia at the same time. I never knew that.
Namibia?
Yeah, there was a guy. There's
Yeah,
a
Fuganis is them boys
yeah.
is
Those,
nomadic, man.
those yeah. We're connected to some of them in Namibia. There's a guy, it's a Gambian woman that was telling a story on the Fula television show that everywhere there's Fula people and stuff like that. So yeah, we're very connected people, man. But us and genetically speaking, we are basically black Africans from Putatoro who married Europeans and obviously married Tuaregs, Tuareg women, and intermarried in us, over the years that make us who we are today. But because of Islam, it kind of extended it more, and we became who we are. And I believe the Lake Chad, where northern Nigeria is, Lake Chad have a lot of influence in our DNA that we see in us today. Whether it's to the mother side or the father side.
And let me
You know
ask
that.
you a question, bro. What
Yeah.
to you? What makes somebody African?
You know what I mean? Black Niger Congo. We are Niger Congo people.
No, no,
Group.
I heard what you said. This
Yeah.
just a regular question. I'm just
What
asking.
makes
Like
someone
it ain't no.
African is
Yeah,
someone that's been in the like what we are today, like North Africa, like for example, North African Africans. I always said that. I never denied that. That's the reason why I jump in. North African are African, West Africans are Africans, East Africans are Africans. The only people I think that are not Africans are Europeans that came to
of
the
course.
continent and the Asiatic people. But
But
to say that's what I
what
said to
makes
them earlier,
what
yeah,
makes them African?
is someone that has already been in the continent that originates from the continent,
For how
you know,
long?
for thousands of years and haven't left, the group haven't left. Like for example, you know, I'll say Barbers, I'll call Barbers, Tuaregs, Afro Arabs, you know, Afro Tuaregs, and Niger Congo, Bantu, Khoikhoi, Khoisan, Akpabio, you know, all these groups that I mentioned, I would call them Africans. But other than that, for those that left the continent long time ago and built settlement over thousands of years, they are not Africans because they don't even consider themselves as Africans.
And they
But,
genetics, most of their
and the
genetics ain't
the
in Africa.
genetic, and the
Yeah,
genetic also. Yeah,
like Arabs. Okay,
yeah,
the way you could establish Arabs from white Berbers is
yeah,
because Arabs, most of them carry haplogroup J. Okay, and if you
yeah,
go to the Arabian Peninsula, especially in the
yeah.
north and in the south, most people carry haplogroup J. But what does white North Africans carry? They carry haplogroup E, and they carry other haplogroups to a small extent, like R. Okay,
Yeah.
R being in Africa longer than J. E been in Africa way longer than J. So I'm trying to understand what is not African about these people. They language developed in Africa.
Everything,
They
everything is
history,
African,
they history
except
emerged.
yeah. But
Egyptians. Go
you
ahead.
see the interesting thing, you know, that you're using. This black nationalists in America, the game that they play is a very dangerous game because it's already backfiring them in their faces. Because I'm in different African channels where black African are saying black Americans are not Africans because we got 30% European DNA. So when black American are calling North Africa non-African, it's very counterproductive. It's actually going to affect them because
It
Africa,
really is because they more
yeah,
African than most of us. They more
yeah,
African. Like if they do a genetics test, I guarantee you at least 50% of them not gonna have no genetics that come from outside of Africa. But most
the
African
Africans,
Americans got
yeah, yeah,
20% of ancestry that come from outside of Africa.
yeah.
So
Well, the Africans are already using that point against Black Americans on different platforms to say African Americans
yeah,
are not African.
but
So
they don't know how stupid
it
that's
sounds
why I'm trying to get Brandon to understand because he was the
you.
besides you, he was the only person on there that got common sense, but
Oh, yeah.
it's a process that you gotta take because
And
just brushing go ahead.
yes, this is what they're using against your African American brothers in Africa at the moment. Because
Yeah,
even
but I
today I
can't
was in
help
the
it. Shit.
platform. Yeah.
I can't control that because I don't think along those lines. I don't
No,
even
no, no, no.
look.
You know,
I know
you don't
people call
understand.
me black. I know people call me black, but I'm just a human, bro, with sub-Saharan affinities.
No, but
That's how I look
I
at
know
it. Go ahead.
I know you listen. I know who you are. I know you're very proud of who you are. You got more. You got great self esteem, yeah. And the brother on the chat, I can tell. You know, I've seen him before. I know he's a guy with great confidence. And people like you are not going to be touched by any idiots trying to make up stuff. But what I'm saying is that a lot of Africans in the continent who are claiming Black Americans are not Africans because they have European admixture or they got Cherokee admixture. But then you have the Black American brother who is actually calling it not African, you know, non-African, you know, basically it's gonna backfire because they should be working with these people
It
that's
already
been
is.
already marginalized, right? And actually form a group against those who marginalizes them. Because if someone sold your ancestors to the white man over the years and you become you had different admixture with them, and you come back to the people that sold you, and the people that sold you is claiming that you're not belonging to them. Come on, that's disgusting. So people need to change their ways and actually start looking at things differently. And if those brothers in Brandon, China would take their time and listen to what you're saying, like Kashta Zulu should have actually
He ain't
listened to
gonna
what
listen.
you're saying. He would understand exactly your point that you're making. I think they missed your point.
Oh
They
yeah,
didn't
they
like the
definitely
argument.
did. Because
Yeah,
they don't have they not even trying to learn about what I'm talking about. So they
yeah,
not now Brandon, he got a little more understanding, but
yeah.
Kashta
No,
Zulu,
Brandon is a smart guy.
yeah, he's smart. So,
Mm.
he right now he Googling stuff, but you
Mm.
gotta dig past the surface, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
never gonna find nothing on Google that say
Mm.
Berbers are not indigenous Africans. You never gonna see that. You know what I'm
No, they
saying?
are.
He found
They
some
are.
shit that was agreeing with what he typed, and he
Yes.
said it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. And that's what anybody would do that don't really have a firm grasp on what I'm talking about. But
Right.
people need to learn how
Mm.
to respect where they come from, because it was powerful kingdoms in West Africa, and West Africans had architecture. See, people think, oh, well, I'm just trying to side with other people. No, I'm not. I'm trying to get people to have pride in the part of Africa that they come from and stop
Yeah.
being racist and acting like colonialists. Because that's what
Yes.
you're doing when you try to replace other people with your people, and then you know damn well that you lying. You
Yeah.
know that you lying. None of the history backs what these people talking about. None of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can pull up, I post shit all the time,
Yeah.
because I got shit about Egypt, bro. I got anthropological studies about Egypt. I got archaeological studies about Egyptian artwork from different points of time. I got artwork from from the old kingdom, bro. And them
Yeah.
people was not black. Bro, you got genetic articles that prove Egyptians in the old times they was less sub-Saharan than they are now. Now,
Mhm.
because of modern things that happen in Egypt, now some of them got sub-Saharan, they got Dinka ancestry, and some of them, like I got an Egyptian partner, he white as snow. Well,
Mm.
he light brown, but he got 19% Dinka ancestry. But that's a
Wow.
recent admixture, bro. That's a
Yes.
recent admixture. That's
Yeah.
probably because of Islam, and other things like maybe colonization or maybe Egyptianization. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
But if you go back to pre-Egypt and if you go back to thousands and thousands of years, you can see the Middle East. Was a mixture. It was a land of, even in Mesopotamia there were black people there. I think
I
the
can't
mixture
agree with
between the
that,
black
dog.
and the black and the Arabs and the Middle Eastern, the West Asian and the black. I think we've been intermarried and intermixing for centuries, bro. I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I think it became this racism and color differences happened recently. And also, like when people talk about the trans-Arab slavery, when they're saying black people used to be enslaved by the Arabs, it's the same way black people used to have Arabs coming from the Middle East to Africa. So it wasn't based on color. The slavery between Arab and Africa wasn't based on color; it was based on class and money and stuff, right?
Now
But
I'm not gonna say,
yeah.
I don't want to say Nubians didn't have their own pyramid structure. I ain't gonna say that,
Oh, they do, they
because
do. Is a
because
remember the German, the German who
what's
came
a
to
mastaba?
Sudan.
Can anybody tell
They
me what's a mastaba?
I don't know.
The mastaba is the base. That's the base structure of a pyramid. That's the first level that people work on when they build a pyramid. That's the base. Okay, that's the flat part, and it raises up.
Yes.
And that's what they build a pyramid on top of. That's like when you build a house, when you build it on top of a concrete slab. Okay, but the mastaba is,
Oh,
yeah, it's the mastaba is the
get up,
base.
get up, get up. See, that's why we got to be careful. So when they put the Tuklo Empire, this is the last. See, that's why we got to be careful with Wikipedia. See, you got the one from Sheikh Umar Tal, who married late Danfojo's daughter. Sorry, daughter. The Tuklo Empire I was talking about is the Tuklo Empire that was at the same time as the
You talk
the
about
Ghana.
Tekrur. You talking about
Yes,
Tekrur. You talking about
yeah,
Kuta
yeah,
Toro.
yeah, yeah.
I know what
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
talking about. because
Yeah, Taku.
the
So you
one
got to
that
be careful, right? That was the same time as the Ghana Empire, right? So
well,
yeah,
you got to be careful because you got to make sure you using the right terms. Because
yeah. No, I
if you say
apologize for that.
Tekwur, if you
Yeah,
say Tekwur, then people gonna know what you talk about. But if you
yeah,
say
Taku.
Tukalur, they gonna be
Yeah.
like, "What the hell?
Well,
What he talking about?"
The Arabs, do that first. What is their interpretation? Well, yeah,
But
how to call it, you do your research. Most of the stuff you said is factual. The only thing I actually had to correct you on is our origin, us as people. We came from those, the Serere, Taku, or the how to call it, the Mandinka and all this group. That's where we came from. But because of where we are located, we happen to have more mixture with the Tuaregs, and also because of our lifestyle, having to
well,
be
if
travelers. Yes.
Fulanis come from Mandinkas,
No,
how
not
come
Mandinka, but the Manding group
you
is
sure they
similar
don't
group.
come from Sarir? Because it's not even established that Sarir people are Manding people.
No,
They
they're not.
Niger
They're not.
Congo,
They're
yeah.
Niger.
So
No. They're Manding speaking. Okay, there are a lot of tribes that actually cross as Manding. They're not really Manding. I tell you that now. Let me get this
yeah,
clear,
so you
right?
gotta be careful
Because
because
yes,
you know
the
Serere,
Serere,
they are different. They are language isolate. They
those
are language
yes,
isolate,
yes, the
and that's why
Serere.
they don't really understand the origins of the Jollof people neither because they are
What
isolated
I mean,
group.
the Olaf, they don't understand the origin of the Olaf,
Yeah, they don't really
the Wolof.
understand yet because
Yes, we the one that understand the origin because we
they
the one that
probably an admixture of people. They probably
the
an
Wolof.
admixture of Soninke, Sarir. It's probably because
Yes, yeah.
they suppose some of them say they came from Wagadu and all that. So
The Wolof.
Wolof, yeah, Wolof,
Wolof, yes, Wolof are a different admixture of people that we actually,
and, and,
gave hospitality to. They're
and that's
quite
what I
new
be
in the
trying to say. Like just
they're
because
new
people black,
in the ranger. Yeah.
just because people black don't mean they all the same people. Blackness is
Oh
just a
no, no.
is just
Yeah,
a
it's just a term. Yeah.
blackness
But
is
I
the
think you
reason
understand
why
why
people have dark skin is because they've been living in hot regions for a long period of time.
the
That's why
Jola,
people have dark skin. Go ahead.
the Jola is our fathers. Our fathers are the Jola. Yeah. The Serere, Jola, and are very very old people in the Senegambia. Yeah, they are very old people in Senegambia. Before all, because the Mandinka are not from Senegal, they came from where you call Kanka, to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
south of Mali.
Mandinka's
South of
from
Mali.
Mandan. That's what
Yes,
Mandinka mean. It means people of
Manding.
Mandan.
Yes,
Yeah, that's where they come
yes,
from. But they was
yes,
all in that. They was all in close vicinity. Because
yes. Mm.
Proto Mende people, they was the ones that was in southern Mauritania and building
Even the
cities.
Mende, they just speak the same language as the Manding, but I don't think they are genetically related to the Mandinka.
Yeah,
I
they
think the
might have
Mende,
different little admixtures. Yeah,
yes, but the Mende, I believe the Mende are more related to us Fula than they are to Mandinka. But they speak the Manding language because when the Mende counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just like the Mandinka language. But don't forget, they got taken over by a lot of other tribes, and they moved. They left when they left Mauritania. They went settled down in the south of Sierra Leone, and then they took over another tribe there, so they adapt to some of their new languages also. Yeah, you know your stuff. I'm not gonna just. I never discounted the 1 minute, 1 day. Since I met you, I know you do your research. The only thing is, I disagree was to say we originated from the Tuareg or the Berbers. That's not true. We came
nah,
from
we
Niger Congo.
Fulanis originated from a merger. They are a merger,
Yes, yes, yes. We
just
imagine.
like
Yes, that's
San
right.
Hadja people. San Hadja people, they originated from a merger of people because
Like people are
in the
grouped together.
Sahel,
There's no one. There's not one thing. We don't. We're a native African that mix with other group that form
humans
a
always
group.
been mixing, bro. It just so
Yes,
happened
yes.
that
You
Fulanis
are right.
emerged from people
Yes,
that look different. That's it,
yes.
bro. It's really not a big deal. West Africans
That's it.
are
That's it,
they
man.
are a product of mixture. West Africans
you
that are living today, they are a product of admixture, bro. Because the
yes,
earliest West Africans was pastoralists. They were hardcore pastoralists, and then
yes,
when they
yeah,
started marrying other women that was in West Africa already that practiced hunting and gathering, they started practicing agro-pastoralists. This is the
yes.
evolution of West African culture,
You are right.
you
You
know,
are right again. I take my
and they
hat for you. I
practiced
take my hat.
agro-pastoralists even in ancient Ghana. You know, they was
Yes,
agro-pastoralists. They kept ranches. They had farms, you know,
yes,
and they would graze. You know, they would graze,
yes.
but they probably wasn't nomadic no more. You know, the nomadic element was disappearing, you know, because they became
And
more settled
and
and they were smart. Go ahead.
and also like the Fuller in Guinea. They never, most of them never been to Nigeria, but most of them have the Hausa bloodline as well. It just shows how, we've been moving around and we've been
That's
intermixing with
it.
our brothers. You
That's
know,
it.
you know,
They've been
yeah,
moving
it's just
around.
very, yeah, we're moving
I
around
don't
a lot.
really I don't really cry about, people being different races, because you got different races that live in different continents, bro. I don't care about that shit. If
No,
you emerged in Africa, if your genetics is only inside Africa, if your language is only spoken in Africa, if you were seen there at old antiquity times and you got old sites from prehistoric times, you African, bro. It don't matter if you black or if you brown, you light brown or Tuareg or Berber or Bantu. You just as African as those people on the North Coast, and those
mm,
people are just as African as the people in the sub-Saharan region. That's the problem that I have with a lot of these people. They think that I'm trying to be like friendly and shit. Like, bro, Africa, first off, Africa don't belong to you. Africa is a landmass. You just so happen to have African genetics. You wasn't here first. Africa was here first. Africa was formed by plate tectonics. So you can't sit up here and talk about you is the true African. You don't know what an African is. You don't know what black is. You don't know what none of that shit is. You don't even know why people are black. You don't know that. And you don't know why people are white. You don't know that. So it's best to leave that Western ideology to the back if you want to get somewhere, if you want to make progress, because you're not going to get nowhere when you're having a scientific or a historical conversation, because people going to always block out blessings with emotionalism, with a religious belief. They always gonna add, Western corruption to the conversation. And like I got so many sources that I can quote. The Greeks and the Romans, when they came to North Africa and colonized or tried to colonize, the first Africans that they seen was white Berber looking North Africans, and those was the first Africans that they called Africans. The people south of Africa was called Ethiopians because they had burnt faces, because they was black. That's why.
yeah, that's true because at that time the North Africans already, the so-called Barbers, already occupied that land. They already
They already occupy that land, bro, all the
they
way
already
from
occupied the
Egypt
land.
to,
Yeah.
to Tunisia to
But
Morocco,
I believe
all
they
that.
came. I believe the Berbers came from the Middle East, and the Tuaregs always been there. That's my take. The Berbers came from the East,
Tuaregs, they are new people.
and
They
you think
relatively
so?
new. They are
Okay.
relatively new people. Berbers, if Berbers came from the Middle East, West African men came from the Middle East because they come from the same paternal haplogroup.
Ah,
They
you
come
see,
from the same
or maybe,
ancestral population.
maybe it's the West Africans who intermixed with the Mediterraneans end up having the Berbers as children over the years because that's another thing I heard also
Well,
that the Berbers
well,
are our children.
you got you got an old prehistoric site called the Tafarote complex. It was occupied by Ibero Marusians, and some of those men, some of them had, like, matter of fact, they found bodies. They found about 20% of the bodies. They were sub-Saharan. They were like West African women. They had L0, L1, mtDNA haplogroups. But the majority of the women had U6, they had H, they had K, which is that's
Is
continuous,
that
or it has
is that the,
continuity with the rest of North Africa.
is that the
Those women
Takrur?
was there, huh?
Is that the Takrur kingdom?
Nah, that's not Tekra. That's like in ancient Morocco, prehistoric
Okay.
Morocco, where they found Jibel Irham.
Oh yeah, I mean you bound to because that's where it's located, right? But I believe obviously this
But
you're talking about the
but
days
get
after
guess
the
what? Guess what
mm,
paternal haplogroups that the Ibero Maroons had? They had like Southern European paternal haplogroups. Not saying that they European, but they was
but
European at the time.
but
They was European like.
did
They
you
had
remember
R.
did you
They had.
remember did you remember what I said about after the Almoravids fell when all these people ran from Spain to North Africa?
We talk about two different times, bro. We talk
So
about
which one was
prehistory.
early? So which one was early, Almoravids or the colonial days?
The Ibero Maroons was way that was like at the end of the Pleistocene epoch, bro. We talk about
No,
way back in the game when people were
no, I'm
still
talking.
using stone tools.
What I'm trying to say is when he said the colonials came and they saw the first people they saw in North Africa were light skinned brothers.
Oh, when they
You know,
came, that was like around the end of the first millennia, like probably like around like 500 BC, all the way up until like 1 CE, around
well,
that around those times.
the colonials.
Nah, they wasn't colonial. We talking about like the Greeks and the Romans. The Greeks and the Romans. Those
Okay.
the people that seen North Africans and called them. I think it was the Greeks because the Greeks they had a word for Black Africans. They called them Ethiopians or Ethiops because they
Right.
had dark faces. And the other people that was in the North Coast they called them Africans, and that's where the Semitic people got that word Ifriqiya from because they came after them. The
Mm.
Semitic people is the people that pushed the Romans out of North Africa. And the I don't know about the Greeks. Maybe the Greeks just maybe they just made some expedition and they just wanted to explore. But the,
Mhm.
the the Semitic people and the Berbers, mostly Semitic Arabs, they was the ones that got your Romans out of Africa, bro. That's
Yeah,
really why. That's really why. That's part of the reason why they invaded the Maghreb. Not because of Africans, but because the Roman influence. That's why they invaded North Africa. And people always want to say it's about black, 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 bro. Black people, the closest to Morocco they was that dark skinned people was, and they probably wasn't even black like people trying to say was in southern Morocco because I got texts that
yeah,
that Berbers talk about when they ran into Ethiops in southern Morocco in the Dry Valley.
that's our
Everything that
answer.
I'm telling you, every,
That's it. That's our full ancestors. Yeah.
I don't know, but it could be. But basically, what I'm saying is the shit that I be telling y'all is studied. It's not me just digging some shit out my ass. I'm
You know
telling you
what I'll
this
do?
from
What I'll do,
years of
Gita,
study.
I'm gonna jump off now because it's late in the UK and I've got work tomorrow.
Okay.
And I was gonna I promised to join someone under the show, but what I'll do, I will send you the details of Shabaka, Sanhaja. Uh, it's a African American brother that does a lot of Fulani studies in the Sahel,
Okay.
and Morocco. I think he lives in Morocco right now. Based on your knowledge, I
He
think you
Muslim?
and he's a Muslim. Yes, he's a great guy. He does different shows. I think you and him, and also I think we should, if you got the time, maybe every Sunday we should do something like this, brother. We should do
Yeah.
something like
Sometimes
this.
I be busy too, man, because I be going out of town to work. But yeah,
Yeah,
like when I'm at
but
home,
once
shit, we can
once a
definitely
week,
do it.
once a week we should do something like this. I would try and get people over here on board because we need to build this platform now.
But I need you. I need you to get your knowledge up, dog, on some
Yeah,
on prehistoric Africa, bro,
yeah,
and more
yes, yeah,
history, because
yeah.
that's the only way we gonna be able to grow. You know what I'm saying?
Because over the years I've been helping other people building their platform and having people to come on and having the crowd in and bring money in. I feel like I owe you this and I owe my people this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I ain't mad at you. Sometimes you get busy. That's how I've been. That's why I don't drop videos all the time because I be busy and
Yeah,
tired.
yeah. And then let me sorry, my brother just said my ethnic background around they moved into the south. Eastern Nigeria, Mauritania, the Igbo, the Oran. Yeah, I think I heard of it. The one thing I know that the I think is it Ijo? Are you related to the Ijo tribe of southeastern Nigeria? Those in the rivers. But what I know is also those in the rivers in southern Nigeria. Um,
Igbos are very smart indigenous ancient West Africans.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
smart. And I
60
believe
different
they
groups have.
history, they paleontology, and they
Mm,
anthropology needs to be studied. But due to the climatic conditions in West Africa, that's why we lack a lot of anthropology from West Africa because the climate doesn't support the reservation of bodies or fossils. It doesn't support that. So instead of running to
yeah,
Egypt, we
yeah,
need to be digging stuff up like them West Africans doing. We need to be digging stuff up, trying to
mm,
find and preserve these bodies so that we can put our own puzzle together. But these
yes,
niggas worried about what white people worried about.
yes. So what my brother, I think is that there is it's funny because he said that because in Sierra Leone there's a group of people that we intermarried to in Sierra Leone, call them Timini, and now the Timini Sanda, the only Bantu group in Sierra Leone. In fact, most of the that group, they have their connection to southeastern Nigeria and the rivers, and the Oran. I think they're very close to this group of tribe because those in the rivers are very connected to us in the far west. Even the Igbos, if you
That's
surprise it,
because you know
yeah, even the
Bantus,
it's mm,
some
yeah,
Bantus did a back migration to West Africa.
yeah,
They
but
left southern East Africa and migrated back to
yeah,
West Africa. A small
yes,
group.
yes,
So that's
but
why some Yorubas and some
yeah,
Igbos
yeah,
have cosign affinities because they brought
oh,
those mutations back to West
yeah,
Africa.
yeah, and also one sad reality in northern Nigeria. In the one sad reality about Nigeria. The Fulani, even though we are very close with the Hausas in the north, you know, genetically we are more related to those in the south of Nigeria but because of Islam,
Yup.
over the years. Huh?
Because Yorubas got assimilated.
Yes, but we are very close to those in the south of Nigeria than genetically than we are and linguistically than we are with those in the north
Man,
because our language.
you gonna have to
Oh
bring
yeah,
that up next time when you get on, dog.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Because our language is Niger Congo. You know that anyway. The genetic pattern is Niger Congo, and now the Yorubas are Niger Congo. The Igbos are Niger Congo. The 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 uh, the
But
Igbos are Niger Congo.
linguistics don't always reflect genetics though.
Yes, yes. But when I mentioned about Nubia, the reason why I mentioned Nubia because the study that I saw that there was few tribes in the southeastern Nigeria where you just mentioned around the rivers. That's including the Ijo tribe, and the Fulani, the Nupe, the Igbos, the and the Fulani, the Mandinka, and some of the tribal group in the far west. They all have some related connection to Nubia, and apologize, and the Balanta.
I don't see it, dog. You gonna have
See,
to bring up some work,
yeah,
dog, so you can show me,
yeah,
man, because I
yeah.
don't
They
see it.
all have connection to Nubia, and
I
this,
see West Africa is a very
yeah,
diverse place, and that's
is
why
a
that's
v-
part of the
is the
reason
same,
why
is the same, yeah,
West Africa didn't do what Egypt did because uh uh they failed to put all the differences aside and unite under a state. Now you did have some states, but that's why the state didn't take over a massive region of West Africa like Egypt did
mm,
in that area. Now, but that's just my theory, based off of West African diversity. The close vicinity that ethnic groups
yeah,
have to each other.
yeah,
and
Yes.
the history of West Africa. All the
Yes.
different languages, all the different
Yes.
cultures. It's
Yes.
just too much. And what
Yeah.
Egyptians did, Egyptians got rid of tribalism at an early phase. They got
Yes.
rid of tribalism. They don't have tribes.
Yes.
They don't have tribes. They only have
Yes.
Egyptians. You either
Yes.
Egyptian or you Dinka or
Right.
Nubian.
Yes.
So
Unfortunately, we have one phenomenon that's going on in Africa at the moment. Also, it's been going on for quite a while, where the larger tribes are trying to extinct the smaller group of tribes. Just like the Manding, they're trying to bring other groups in them to say, oh, just because you speak the Manding, you are part of the Manding, but genetically they're not related. It's similar trend that happened in southeastern Nigeria. You have some group who speak similar languages as Igbo, like in the rivers area, but genetically they're not Igbo. They may have Igbo genetic also, but also us in the in I think even us some of the Fullers we have the same system because we're a bigger tribe. We bring in some other smaller tribe to be Fullers inside because they speak similar languages. But I don't know if whether it's a good or bad, but smaller tribes tend to be marginalized in that way. But I think that's the reason why, if I notice, most of the countries where we are in West Africa, we tend to work with much more of the smaller tribes than we are with the bigger tribes. I'll give you an
no,
example in
no.
Nigeria. Yeah,
I think West
yeah,
Africans and sub-Saharan Africans and all Africans in general, that's what humans do. They take over the weaker tribes. You know what I'm saying? Weaker
so,
tribes, they always lose.
some small tribes are very sophisticated. Like for example, in Nigeria,
That
the
don't
smaller
mean they
tribes,
not weak.
yeah, the smaller tribes always been the leaders of Nigeria. But a lot of people don't understand this. They think it's the bigger tribes. Like in the middle belt, those small tribes have have had political leaders, like in the military days, and in Senegal today, you know, the guy in the leadership is from a smaller tribe. The guy in Burkina Faso, his ethnic group is a minority there.
Yeah.
It's you'd be surprised. It's all about the alliance that they build
It's
where they
a
are.
line. Thank you. It's not all the time what you know, but it's who you know, and
Yeah.
that's how Berbers from the coastal North Africans, they
Yes.
were able to spread south without
Yes.
hardly any resistance
Yes.
because they were in contact with Romans. They had more advanced weapons than those people that lived in the dry valley. So when they
Right.
spread to the dry valley further south in Morocco, they were able to subjugate those people, not because they were dumber, but those people had been exposed to outside things and outside elements that made them more advanced at certain things like warfare. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So that's all I'm saying. Like it's not always because they weak. It's not always because they small. Sometimes it's just what advantages somebody have at a certain particular time. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yes.
what happened when ancient West Africans, proto West Africans came to West Africa. Bro,
Yeah.
you think they admixed with men? No, they didn't. They admixed with women and they replaced the men. The earliest inhabitants of West Africa that were men, they had
Yeah.
haplogroups A and B and stuff like that.
Yeah.
B60 and shit like that. They were like proto pygmies and proto
Yeah.
Khoisan type people.
Yeah.
The modern West African men, they replaced them. They pushed them away, or
Yeah.
they probably went to war with them. They got rid of them, bro. That's why you
Yes.
don't hardly see men from West Africa that got haplogroup A. You might have small groups of them,
Yeah.
but you don't hardly see men from West Africa that got haplogroup A or B because
Yeah.
those people got replaced. They took their
Yes.
women and they replaced the men. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. My brother just mentioned he's not Igbo, he's Oran tribe. You see what I mean? Like if you speak to the Igbos, they will pretend like the entire South is all Igbos. But this is what other tribes, bigger tribes do to marginalize smaller tribes. They'll be like, oh, the entire Southeast is ours, it's our land, it's our territory, the Igbos and stuff like that. But then when you go there, you dig inside, you realize these people, they actually are their own people, they're genetically different. And those in the rivers, yeah, the thing is, we have loads of people that during the transatlantic slave trade also, you know, they were sold from that southeast region. And now William Wilberforce, which is a British, you know, guy who built a fort, you know, in Wilberforce in Sierra Leone in Freetown, you know, to abolish slavery. He
Mhm.
will capture a lot of people from his tribe, I believe, and who we resettled in Sierra Leone in Freetown over the years. And then I think they were sold by the larger tribe, captured and sold by the larger tribe. So we resettled them in Freetown. And then years later, you know, those that wanted to go back to Nigeria were repatriated back to Nigeria and, you know, build the rivers, you know, this areas where you call river states in Nigeria today and Lagos.
The
And
earliest, hold on,
yes,
bro, my bad. I just trying to address what he said. So the earliest, I'm not saying they were Hosan, they were proto Hosan people and proto uh uh pygmy type people. Those are the type of people. I'm not saying that they probably didn't even look like how they look. Because you got some people that's associated with Hosan people in East Africa that's like the Hazabi people or the Mazda people. The Mazda people, they don't look nothing like the Hosans in South Central Africa or the Kalahari Desert, you know. So I'm just saying they were people they were ancestral populations to Hosan. They had similar genetics as modern day Hosan and pygmy type people. But those men got replaced. They got removed from West Africa because it was time for them to move on because it was more people with different type of lifestyles that was coming in and they outdid them. They took their women. That's why most people that's why most African Americans have they maternal haplogroup is L1, L2, L3, or L0 because that's an ancient hunter gatherer woman that had kids with a modern West African man. That's why you don't have haplogroup A. You don't have haplogroup B60. Those are old paternal haplogroups that got replaced by haplogroup E, like
right,
19,000 years ago. You know,
right.
so people got to stop with all this invader shit. Then they want to say migration. They want to try to use migration to their advantage. But then when North Africans, that don't look black, when they decide to move somewhere, they invading. Nah, bro. Then you got to stop with this. North Africans pushed us further south, bro. Black Africans don't fuck with the desert. The only ones that do is ones in the Sahel. They don't fuck with the desert, bro, because they was agriculturalists. They need grass. They need grass to plant crops. You think them hunter gatherer women that they married was finna be finding some damn crops in the desert? Hell no. They couldn't support their lifestyle in no damn desert. That's why they moved south. Some of them did get forced south by other populations, but for the most part, they made that move on their own timing and their own judgment. Like the people of Tichy, they moved south because they wanted to. They moved south because the climate forced them to, not Berbers. Now
Yeah,
some of them
yeah,
probably
yeah.
did get ran away by Berbers or assimilated into Berber culture.
But no, the when the barber came around, and you know, we give him hard. They wanted to come and bully us. It didn't work. We bullied them off. We actually put them in their place. It's only later on, you know, they actually started flexing their muscle. But for centuries, these guys couldn't do shit. Even now, when they try, look at what they're trying in Mali. Even now, we still stretch their asses in Mali. All the trouble that they
Bro,
caused in Mali. Yeah,
Malians even got stories of old pygmy people that they ran into when they colonized that area. They
of
got
course.
stories of that shit. The the
We
the
married
ancient
our
the ancient
ancestors.
Soninke, the ancient
Yeah,
Soninke, they got a story about some goblins they was going to war with. I don't know if those was Berbers or those was pygmies. They got
pygmies,
stories of those
possibly.
people.
Because
You know,
we married into pygmies. Our mother's side are pygmies and stuff. Because
yeah,
they're
the
the one
mother
that.
side came from
Yeah,
old West African hunter gatherers, bro.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why most West Africans practice agriculturalism, but they used to
Mm,
practice pastoralism back in prehistoric time, in the Stone Age. They
mm,
practice pastoralism.
yeah.
This is shit that niggas ain't gonna know,
But
because they
I
don't
think
really be getting deep into it.
for us the fullers, I think that pastoralism we adapted it to it, after during the Ghana Empire because of oppression. We was quite oppressed by that empire. It was quite a brutal empire, to be honest with you. So when some people came and started making the empire fragile, the Fuller and the Mandinka, they saw opportunity to destroy the empire. That's why, if you notice, the Soninke, they haven't given the Fuller and the Mandinka for destroying the Ghana Empire. Later on, remember the Fuller and the Mandinka and the Bambara built the Mali Empire, as a group. Obviously, there's more tribe in the Mali Empire, but the main people that built the Mali Empire were the Mandinka and the Fuller and the Bambara. I built that empire. But that we had to get rid of the Ghana Empire first, because the Ghana Empire was quite brutal. They were selling slaves. They was very, very ruthless. The amount of slaves that got taken out of West Africa through that empire, you wouldn't even compare it to the transatlantic slavery. So we
Everybody
had
was
to,
still a slave back then, dog.
yeah, but it wasn't the only thing is it wasn't color based slavery. It was slaves were coming from Arabs were coming from the east to the West Africa, black West Africa, we live in West Africa to the east. So it wasn't like what the white man was doing to us when they just one way, type of slavery. That's true. I agree with that. But so yeah, so the brother, I'm gonna respond to you. So I think you are related to some of the group of tribes that we have in the further West Africa and in the far west. And we also have some settlers in Freetown in Sierra Leone that came from your group of people. I think that was rescued during the transatlantic slavery that we actually homed in Freetown, some part of the western area. But I will do a bit of research about the Oran tribe. They sound very interesting. They sound interesting. But yeah, I love little tribes because the smaller tribes in Africa, especially West Africa, they're very fascinating tribes. The more because we always talk about larger tribes in Africa, we never talk about these small tribes. And I think this will be a topic we should focus on in the next few months, maybe, and see what we can get out of them because there are a lot of small tribes, a lot of fascinating history we can actually learn.
Hey, bro, make sure you get some rest, dog. If you gotta work
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah. No problem, brother. Well, I'll speak to you later. Yeah? Love to everyone in the panel, and let's reschedule again for next week, brother. Yeah.
I
Take
got you.
care. All right.
Be safe, bro.
Love to everyone in the chat. Blessings. God guidance. God bless you.
Yeah, but I appreciate y'all for coming check me out. Hold on, I'm looking for some information for you to share you some stuff anyway, so you could check it out. What are you referring to? Are you referring to the replacement? Are you referring to the replacement of paternal lineages in West Africa and the absorption of hunter-gatherer women into modern West African cultures? Majority of American slaves were Hausa, Fulani, Igbo, Yoruba. What I heard, most of the Yorubas, only a fraction of Yorubas got sent to North America. Most of the Yorubas in like Central America and South America. But yeah, it's definitely a group. It's Bambalikes, it's Akans, it's Fube. It's a we are a ad mix of all those people. You know what I'm saying? We are an ad mix of all those people. You know what I'm saying? And okay, I got you. I got you. Unfortunate things is that this isn't common teaching in Western K-12 education. Yeah, I mean, it's not really unfortunate. It's just that when you grow up in a certain place, and you take the standard education, they gonna teach you what's standard in order to get by in that place. if you want to learn, if you want to learn a more concentrated understanding about a certain part of the world, you got to either go to school for it or you got to collect a lot of information about it. Like me, I'm a history and anthropology enthusiast. So I spend a lot of time reading this type of stuff because I always been into ethnology. I always been into prehistoric humans, human behavior, which is called anthropology. You know, I always been into archaeology. You know, I always been into all that type of stuff. So I have a natural yearn to find that type of information, specifically on Africa, you know, because Africa is the most diverse continent in the world, you know, and that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Just because somebody don't look like you don't mean that they are invader. You know, first off, in order to establish a good discussion that's going to make any progress, you have to establish a standard on what makes somebody indigenous and what makes them non-indigenous, just like I did with brother Al. That's why I asked him, what makes somebody African? How long do they have to be somewhere in order for them to be considered African? You know what I'm saying? And just like, and that's why I brought up modern West African men admixing with hunter gatherer women that was indigenous to West Africa. Because just like you say, North Africans are invaders, those women, if they were still in West Africa, they could call your paternal ancestors invaders because they were invaders. They migrated across the Green Sahara. They migrated across the Green Sahara and they pushed out hunter gatherer men. They pushed them south. They pushed them for they probably wasn't even hunter gatherer. I think they were hunter foragers. I think they were foragers. So they pushed them further south and they kept the women and married the women. Now you got proto modern West African men, humans walking around because the man, he gets both chromosomes. The woman, they just get one chromosome, but they get SMPs and STRs from both haplogroups. You know what I'm saying? So basically they get some traits. They get some traits from the man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm starting to think that women don't get no traits from the men. I'm not sure, but that's just a study that I'm gonna have to research on with genetics in the chromosomes, the transfer of chromosomal data or chromosomal information. some small smaller ethnic groups of southeastern Nigeria contributed to and or ended up in the slave trade but aren't a significant contribution. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's groups that might not have participated at all, and it's groups that were complicit, you know, in the slave trade, and they became victim of the slave trade. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really like Roots, but if you watch the modern version of Roots, that's a good example. You know, Mandinkas were slave traders. You know, they were slave traders, but Mandinkas ended up being enslaved too. And you know, it's just a product of war. But one thing we can't forget, that slavery was already being practiced in West Africa. Slavery was already being practiced in West Africa. Slavery was already being practiced in North Africa. Slavery was already being practiced in East Africa. You know, we can't forget that slavery is a mistake of all humans, not just a certain group of people that make you feel like you was a perpetual victim, because that's very disingenuous. It's very disingenuous. But meanwhile, while I got y'all on here, I just want to show y'all something. Uh, I want to show y'all something. Hold on, man. Where is it? Damn. Yeah, they because they want to. I really don't know why they do that, man. I'm so sick of it, bro. Like African Americans, we come from people that was already around in West Africa and Central Africa. You know, we come from people that are ancient. They might not be that ancient, but who cares? Let me show y'all something else before we go. But and I still gotta find something. I gotta find a good something for you to take home and you could take your time and read real quick. But hold on real quick. This is something that you can use for yourself. It's called humanphenotypes.net. I'll post a link in the comments. Damn. Cause I want to share resources so that everybody can have this knowledge. This is common information. Hold on. Okay. Now I'm finna post it in the comments for y'all. You should look into it. There are studies out there. I can link one of them, but there are genetic variations among smaller ethnic groups versus the Igbo, which they claim exactly, bro. But yeah, you could check out that link right there, and that will show you different phenotypes, so you can understand what type of people been living in these different places. But let's go to Asia, okay? All you got to do is click a part of a continent, and it's gonna show you what people look like over there. This part of Asia got three different variations of humans: the Turanid, the Tungid, and the Siberid. You see that? When you go further south, let's go further south. You got the Sinid, the Indid, and the South Mongolid. Let's go. Let's go down here. Look, now people getting darker. You got the Indid, the Indo-Melanid, the Vidid. But nobody give you any flack. Nobody give you any flack when it comes to these people. Nobody give you any flack when it comes to these people. When they see an Indian in America, they say he Asian. When they see a Japanese or a Turanid or a Tungid in America, they say he's Asian. But when they see a Berber like French Montana that's indigenous to Morocco, they say he's Arab. That is disingenuous. Now, let me show you something else. Let me show you that blackness is not exclusive to Africa. Look at this. The melanicid, the dominant type of New Guinea, the Melanesian Islands. The name derived from Melas, Greek, equals black or whatever. Nessos equals island. Probably developed through various migration from Southeast Asia during the Paleolithic and the Neolithic. Medium brown to black skin, tight curly hair, robust features, often with supraorbital arches, wide, relatively high noses, and full lips. The height is variable. The limbs are long. Although features sometimes appear sub Saharan African, no close relationship exists, and they result from convergent evolution. Do you see that? Do you see that? Blackness is not exclusive. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even show y'all what I was looking at. Hold on. I didn't even show y'all what I was looking at. This is what I was looking at right here. Although features Although features sometimes appear sub-Saharan African, no close relationship exists, and they result from convergent evolution. You see what I'm saying? You got black people that's not the same race as you. You got black people that's not the same race. Yes, 100% correct. Blackness is not exclusive to Africa, and French Montana is not Arab. French Montana identifies as a Moroccan. Yep, that's what I try to tell people but they believe they're black because Africans colonized the earth, which is not true. I mean, humans modern humans came from Africa, yeah, but they came at entirely different times. Entirely different times. You know, it was several ways outside of Africa. It was several ways outside of Africa. It wasn't just no big ass wave. First of all, every time people left Africa, it was a small group. It was a small group. But we got people that don't have a deep understanding of this of evolution and migration, trying to tell us about migration. But that's fine. I just can't wait to have this debate. They believe that black people colonized the region, which is why black people are there. Well, these people are black because of convergent evolution. They don't have nothing to do with you. These people here are black because of convergent evolution, because they adapted to their environment. They adapted to their environment. They don't have no West African genetics. They don't speak no West African languages. They don't eat West African food. They don't have history that overlaps West African history that will show your migration or they migration coming from West Africa or any part of sub-Saharan Africa. None, except probably way back in time, thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago. These people, look at these people. The Vedid, they also look black, but they look more Ethiopian, like not ancient Ethiopian, but modern. They look more modern Ethiopian, ancient South Asian type. These people emerged in Asia, bro. Ancient South Asian type that probably split off early and long dominated large parts of South Asia from Arabia to the Sunda Islands, was pushed back by later migrations and became restricted to hunter-gatherers and forest populations. The skin is medium to dark brown, the hair wavy to curly, skulls are often long and small, stature rather short, the face low, brow ridges significant, forehead and chin receding, mild prognatism common. The most typical variety is the Veda type that survives in small numbers in Sri Lanka, in the Sri Lankan forest. More common are Gondids in tribal populations of North Gondid or South Gondid. Malids of South India show negrotoid traits. Toe Toalids of Indonesia are shorter skulled. Other varieties include Senoids of Indochina and Arabian Vedoids. These people are not African. Yes, exactly. They was in Asia way before Egypt was even thought of, bro. They was there before Egypt was ever thought of. the Black Asians Afrocentric claim came from Africa more recently, and they didn't. These people developed everything they got in Asia, and they evolved in Asia. That's why they have Asian genetics. Everything they do is Asian. Everything they do is Asian. Skin color is nothing but an adaptation to your environment. But North Africans, they can be whatever color they want to be. You got people with North African affinities that have dark skin, like Kushites, like not Kushites, but Somalis. Somalis have more, they have Nilotic affinities, and they have uh Eurasian affinities. But not all the time that scholars mention Eurasia or Eurasian affinities are they saying that they came from outside of Africa. Yes, North Africans do vary. Now, depending on where you at, you're gonna see more light-skinned North Africans, like on the coast, like Egypt. Like if you in Egypt, in lower Egypt, you're gonna see lighter skinned North Africans. If you in upper Egypt, you're gonna see darker skinned North Africans that look like these people. They not gonna look like Igbo. They not gonna look like a Mandinka. They might have dark skin, but they not phenotypically clustered with you. They can't be phenotypically clustered with you because they don't have the same profile. That's what I love when Egyptomaniacs try to talk about the darkness people, the people that have darker skins in Egypt, and they say that makes them the same race as them. No, it doesn't. Skin color don't even make you the same race. Skin color does not make you the same race. We got to stop that, bro. We got to stop that. We bringing colonialism into the pride of Africanness. We bringing colonialism into the pride of Africanness. Africa is a diverse and it's a beautiful place with all type of different people. Light-skinned people, dark-skinned people, medium skin, in between, transcendent people that's in between, intermediate. You got jet blue black people. You got red people. You got some people that look like they ain't even supposed to be there, but they've been there for thousands of years. That's why North Africans look like Middle Easterners, because they did travel back and forth from the Middle East to North Africa. They did. Some of them did, but they still emerged a culture that was indigenous to Africa, North Africa, long enough to be indigenous. It was long enough to be indigenous. Sub-Saharan Africans, they stayed away from, traveling outside of Sub-Saharan Africa. They didn't need to, because they had everything available to them. They had everything available to them. They had iron deposits in the soil. They had iron deposits in the soil. They had stone. They had water. They had fruit. They had wood. They had mud brick, so that they can build they stuff that you can find and teach it. But even they traveled. They traveled from West Africa to the Congo to southern West Africa. Some of them traveled to southern Central Africa, to where now you find Khoisan people and Bantu people. And some of them admix with Nilo-Saharans, creating groups called like Luo people. And some of them admix with Cushitic speaking people. I don't know what groups they emerged, but according to scholarship, they intermarry with those people. Yep, skin color doesn't seem any black Americans do DNA test a girl that had skin tone of Drake and had 70% African DNA, 76%. And the guy that had skin tone of Brandon only had 50%. Exactly, bruh. Bruh, you got white skinned North Africans, bro. White skinned North Africans with straight hair that look like Romans. And them boys is 100% African. They 100% African. And you got these niggas out here, they dark, light brown and dark brown. And they think they 100% African because of their skin. Bro, you got 20 to 30% European admixture. They DNA alone shows that North Africans are indigenous to Africa. If they came from Arabia recently or even further back, they would have people that share their genetics, that share their haplogroups in the Arabian Peninsula or in the Levant. E1B1B is not present in the Levant. E1B1A definitely not present. Definitely not present. The reason why E1B1B is present in Europe is because the Almoravids conquered Europe and they was there for a long time. You don't think they was taking them Spanish women and them Portuguese women and having kids with them? You don't think they was doing that when Islam permits you to have three, four wives? Bro, you got people that look white in America that got West African paternal haplogroups. West African paternal haplogroups. Now, most of their genetics probably go back to Europe, but they lineage, not their lineage, but their paternal haplogroup goes back to some parts of sub-Saharan Africa, depending on what subclade that they got their haplogroup from. I'm really getting tired of this conversation, you know, but it's a very interesting conversation for people that want to know. And I really can't wait to have this discussion on Brandon Channel because I feel like we got a lot to learn, man. We got a lot to learn. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's a level of cognitive dissonance, you know, when it comes to African diversity. Like, how can you say that Asians can be diverse, but in the same voice, in the same word, you say that Africans was all black? Like, what is black? What is black? When you say they was all black, what do you mean? Can you describe it on paper? Can you type it out? I need to do a DNA test. I know my ethnic background because my parents are Nigerian, but from my ethnic background, we have some variations in skin tone. My mom's father, my great grandfather was very fair. Shit, ain't no telling, dog. But I always hear people say Ebos was fair skinned people. You know, I don't know how true that is. You know, maybe compare it to the other ethnic groups in the region. They was kind of lighter. I don't know. But like Brandon said before, which I agree with, it's a little bit of European admixture over there too. You know, just a little bit. I don't think it's as much as it is over here, but it's just a tad bit. In Senegal, it is too. You know, it's a little European admixture over there. I read an article on Fulani people in Senegal, and they got modern, current, or recent admixture from European settlers that came over there. Not all of them, but some of them. You know what I'm saying? And that probably was from Western Europeans. Igbos can be dark to medium skin tone. Yeah, I don't know who I heard that from, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't science like a scientific observation. It probably was just they probably seen like one Igbo person and it was like, oh yeah, some Igbos be light skinned. Like, nah, bro. A scientific observation is an observation that can be duplicated. No, you don't just look at one thing and say, oh yeah, that's it. No, you gotta try it multiple times and then you come up with to a conclusion. And you might even try it against different variables. You know what I'm saying? Let me I gotta look in my library for I gotta look at my library for the replacement of hunter gatherer populations. But I'm gonna send you something. I'm gonna send you something. What am I gonna send you? Hold on. I'm gonna send you something about prehistoric West Africa so that you can gain some information and you won't be in the dark. Hopefully, Mr. the other guy still here because he was really looking for some information. He probably messing with that map. But black people, black Americans, y'all gotta stop. Like, ain't no conspiracy theory. What the elders tell me about my ethnic background, it ain't no conspiracy theory, dog. Ain't nobody trying to take nothing from you, bro. People just trying to understand reality and they trying to understand the history of humans. Hold on, give me a second while I'm looking for this. Y'all can keep chopping it up though. I hate when people say that, for one aspect, for one aspect, y'all tripping. It's a y'all some conspiracy theories. But when it comes to the African diversity, then it's a conspiracy theory. Then we could have all the conspiracy theories. Now they not scientists. They just trying to take you away from something. They trying to steal something from you. That's very disingenuous, dog. And then say, cosign had they brought mutated genes from when they came back to Africa. Like all the cosign left Africa together at one time, bro. That did not happen. It's a misconception that all Southeast Nigeria is Igbo, which ain't true. Haha, my ethnic group be being afterthought. Oh yeah, it's like that all the time, dog. It's just people just generalize it because it's probably the majority. You know what I'm saying? Just like when people say, "Oh, that's a white neighborhood," but it's like 10 black families that live there, or maybe 100. But 100 compared to 20,000, that's still the majority. So that's why when you dealing with stuff from a macro perspective, a macro perspective, which is from a large perspective, sometimes people tend to disregard the smaller occurrences and they just deal with the majority. I got so many PDFs, bro. I'm just trying to find a good one, you know, that you can understand, that'll help you understand some prehistoric West African shit. Man, where is it? Yeah, when you dealing with this type of conversation, bro, so many variables are out there. Here go a good one right here. Potter communities and technological tradition in Lower Talimsi Valley. I'm gonna post that one, and I'm gonna post one about Teach It. Where can I save the link? Okay, I'm gonna email it to myself, and then I'm gonna post it. And I'm finna look for one more. Man, where is it? I'm so tired of these ads, man. Holocene, Chad Basin. I'm gonna just send you this one. I gotta look for the other one. It's probably in my library. And I'll share it on my next live. But this some good stuff. This is definitely gonna help you get where you know get started. Give me a second. Now I gotta go to my email and then copy it. All right, so damn, it didn't send the other one. Okay, I'm about to copy the link. Just hold your horses. I'm just gonna have to drop this one because the other one didn't send. So next time I go live, if y'all come on there, matter of fact, I just put the link in the description. Man, what in the hell is going on? My drive, all locations. This is crazy, dude. Hold up. Okay, let me go back. Okay, now I'm finna share it. Now I got it. Share. Copy link. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna just post this one because the other one I gotta set it up so I can easily share it. And when I go live again, I'll post, post more information. Oran people were one of the first contacts with Europeans, but we refused to trade slaves. We didn't trust them because one of our people was taking that voyage with them that was instructed to show them. You know a lot about your people. Hey man, one day you're gonna have to get on here, and tell us what you know about the Oran people so people can stop trying to be Egyptians and learn about some of the unheard of groups in West Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because we need more valuable information coming out of West Africa instead of people sitting here, trying to be Egyptians. That's a real bad look. When you got people that been there for thousands of years and they know who they are, they didn't go through what our ancestors went through, and we trying to tell them who we are. But with that being said, man, I really do appreciate those that came. And brother Al, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down because man, I just flew back to Houston, and I'm tired as hell. So we'll go ahead, catch me some Z's, bro. Oh, you sent the request. Okay, before I go, let me open it up so you can read it. I'm about to fix it right now so you can read it. I don't even know why I be making it private. This phone be tripping, dude. I think you should be able to read it now. I just gave you access to it. But I'm gonna fix that too so you don't have to request nothing. I don't know why it does that, but it make all my PDF files private. So I have to like accept your request and all that. But I'm gonna fix that too. So whenever I send information for you to read, you don't have to do all that BS. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and kiss some Z's, man. I'm tired as hell. And hope y'all, share the videos, the shorts, and try to get this accurate information out, so we can change the narrative and have people having more pride in their actual history, where they descend from, and stop trying to take other people's knowledge and history, like colonizers, like our colonial masters. No problem, bro. Anytime. And I'm gonna look for that other discussion that we was talking about too, and I post that on the I'll post that on our next live. But I appreciate y'all for coming, bro. I really appreciate y'all company and y'all understanding and willingness to learn, and just not stay into the box and actually learn history that can be verified, and it's not just dependent on some type of black and white belief. We was Cain, we was black, we was white, all that shit. It's foolishness, man, and we really gotta let it go. Knowledge is power, bro. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have of West Africa, the less you will try to cling on to foreign histories. Peace, bro. Afri-Culture concepts. I'm out.